On this Thursday, November the 5th, Lolo with you. No stats. He's off till Monday. Drew Barrett filling in, doing double duty today. He's all over the place. We still do not have a president. That is still, depending on where you look, it's still 264 to the president's total of, what is it, 214?
Yeah, 214. Although 264, I don't know if they've officially announced Arizona.
Well,
because depending on which news source you go to, the Arizona vote is still out.
Here, if you go to Fox News or AP, they've given Arizona to Joe Biden. So it's 264, 214, and it's been that way for 24 hours. If you go to CNN, NBC, they're at 253. And so those, obviously, there's 11 votes that are a part of what Arizona represents. So while we do not have a president, we have COVID and COVID-related news all over the place. First bit of COVID news that I saw today had to do with the cancellation of Navy and Tulsa. This is what, about the third or fourth game?
Third game.
That Tulsa has had that has been postponed.
And,
I don't know if
and none of them have been Tulsa's fault. They've all been the opponents.
Right.
Arkansas State got canceled, Navy got canceled, and I can't remember the third one off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that it was not their fault. It was their opponents.
Well, the thing is, you can't make them all up. I mean, that is where it drives you crazy. For instance, I'm trying to figure out now how many cases, when was the testing done for Navy? So if yesterday...
Cincy got postponed as well.
Okay. So if yesterday was the day they found out about the positives, by next Saturday, the 10 days are up, you could play. But if it wasn't, if it was this morning, depending on how many cases, will there be a game? How would you make up the Memphis game? Because there are no dates unless you pulled... You pushed back the championship game to the 19th, like a lot of conferences are doing. You look at the SEC,
but then you also get
championship game. It's on the 19th. Problem is Navy Army is supposed to be.
Yeah, they still have to play, and that could get into bowl season because bowls start the week after.
Here's what you could do.
I actually think they are playing a bowl on December 19th.
Well, as long as that team doesn't involve an American
I doubt it
Athletic
will.
Conference team, then you're okay. The issue would be, would you move Army-Navy to the 19th, let Navy play either Tulsa or Memphis on the 12th, and then because both Tulsa and Memphis could be involved in a spot in the championship game, and move the championship game to the 19th when the SEC's got a championship game and some of the other conferences have championship games now on the 19th. So if you were on CBS, because that is what has the Navy-Army game, that probably would work because I think the only championship game that the CBS network has is the SEC.
Yeah.
So that would probably work out okay. But if the Tigers can't play in that slot, if they don't move the Army-Navy game, whatever it may be, then there's no place on the schedule at this moment to make up that game. Because Memphis is out of bye weeks, and they've already lost a game. And they moved one game to the 21st that was supposed to be a bye week. So
it's the same problem that we're seeing going on in Wisconsin with the Big Ten, that you might just – not be able to make these games up. You just ran out of time, and it's really not due to the fact that you didn't somewhat plan on there being type of instances with COVID-19 when you're talking about the AAC, because they started on time. They had plenty of weeks built in, but this far into it, if you're still getting cancellations and postponements and outbreaks on campuses throughout your conference, then you're just kind of out of luck at this point.
Well,
I mean, you're going to get to a point where you just can't play it unless –
The only other thing I could think of is we'd have to look at Navy and see what their schedule is on November 21st. And you might actually just try to play another conference game. Memphis is not scheduled to play Tulsa. Maybe you play Tulsa and you get out of the Stephen F. Austin game, which was a late ad anyway, and try to get another conference game in there if you do lose the Navy game next week. Those are things that you can ponder. Here is another thing to ponder, because right after we heard that news, the story broke that Ohio State is pulling out of the basketball tournament in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So now, you originally had Duke in the Bahamas. They pulled out, never were going to Sioux Falls. Utah replaced them, right?
Yeah.
Utah decided to opt out of that tournament, and they were replaced by South Dakota State. Now, today we learn right after the Tulsa and Navy cancellation, it comes across, and I got to give Brett McMurphy a lot of credit. This dude is breaking. So he's breaking as many stories on college sports as Woj breaks on the NBA. So Brett McMurphy breaks this story, and it's that Ohio State is going out of this tournament. And the reason is, and this is where I am confused, but we can talk to our friend Bill Bender about this.
Ohio native.
At the bottom of the hour. He lives in Columbus, South Ohio. We can chat with him about what this really means. Because here's the reasoning given by the Buckeyes basketball team. They're not going to Sioux Falls because when they were to return, they would have to quarantine for 14 days. I'm saying to myself, is this brand new? What happens? Houston just flew there, or they're flying there tomorrow. Houston's flying there tomorrow to play a football game. They're not going to be quarantined for 14 days. Same state, as far as I know. Columbus isn't that far from Cincinnati, by the way. How is that working?
The way that I read it is not to enter the state, or not to leave the state. So if you're going in, you could come out, is the way I'm thinking. But if you leave the state and you're planning on staying in Ohio when you come back, is when you have to quarantine for 14 days. So visiting teams can leave the state without having to quarantine, but home teams can't leave and then come back.
Where is the logic in that?
I don't know, but that's how it came off to me.
I don't quite understand that.
But then again, it doesn't really make a lot of logic if it's the other way around, because then the games in Ohio would be canceled, and we haven't had that happen yet.
Well, and it's been tough going for the Ohio State basketball team already. I mean, because if this is the case, they can't go on a road trip, and
they'll have to play in Ohio.
Neither can the Cincinnati Bearcats. I guess they could play each other every game. They couldn't even play Northern Kentucky. That's right across the border. I have no idea what all that means. Bill Bender will maybe shed some light on that, but it does appear that the replacement for Ohio State will be the St. Mary's Gales. So that is a good team.
Good program to pick up.
In the same conference as
Gonzaga.
And they usually are the second best team in that conference. They usually give Gonzaga a heck of a game. It has been tough for Ohio State because not only do they have these COVID quarantine issues, they lost their point guard who's opted out because of COVID. So right there, you've got two major Memphis-related COVID stories. Now there's other COVID stories that are out there, including we know San Francisco is playing Green Bay, and apparently Kendrick Bourne, the wide receiver who was supposed to have had COVID, and they shut down the San Francisco practice facility. That was a false positive. That game is going on. However, the Chicago Bears have paused activities because a third player, another offensive lineman,
that's not good,
has a positive COVID test. 3 O-linemen on a bad O-line team already. The Titans are probably licking their chops because they play right on Sunday. That is tough for Chicago. The Houston Texans had a positive test from their linebacker, Jacob Martin. They've closed down their facilities. That's another tough story. And And then this, which is really sort of sad. It's COVID related, but it's not from testing, it's economic. Two things, really. Clemson had to eliminate track and field and cross country today, and that's about as elite a football program as there is. Alabama and Clemson. I guess Ohio State. We'll put all three in this elite class that brings in more revenue, probably the third most revenue, because Ohio State fills 100,000 and Alabama fills 92,000. Ohio State's got the best TV contract with the Big Ten. The SEC's got the second best. The ACC's is not as good. So the third most lucrative college football program has to eliminate two sports today because of the COVID pandemic. And then we learned later this afternoon 300 people on the ESPN payrolls, and this is directly because of the issues with their parent company Disney cutting out people. 300 people from ESPN laid off today. The only name from talent that I've heard, and there are some people that are not going to be renewed, these things will come out as we go along, but the big name that didn't make the cut today is Ivan Mizell, who we have had on this show. And he's about as good a college football historian as there is. So to lose Mizell is a sad, sad thing for this business. The media business, we're going to be full of changes for the next couple of years when a company that controls sports has to start laying off as many people as they do. There's always a trickle-down effect.
There is, and with all the news out with COVID-19, the layoffs, the Clemson news, if you were still on the fence about this whole second wave being here, I don't know what more evidence you need. And for Clemson, I mean, just another example of, why spend, going back to the stupid spending habits that a lot of these universities have had. I mean, their football complex, $55 million complex, has a bowling alley, a putt-putt course in it, but we don't have enough money in the budget to keep a track and field and cross-country program alive. I mean, once everything gets back to normal and we get back to that type of spending, I will be shocked that there aren't more rainy day funds, because we now know what happens when the money does run out. It's not always going to be there, and it's a shame for those student athletes that the university didn't have more of a hindsight to actually have a rainy day fund to keep it rolling.
It is. It has been a arms race with no thinking that anything like this could ever happen. Who could foresee, really, that we would have this kind of pandemic that would shut down the world? And that now there would be a second wave. Well, if you listen to doctors like Anthony Fauci, he said there's going to be trouble in the winter. And unfortunately, he and Dr. Birx were rather prophetic because that is exactly what we're seeing. I'm going to give you those numbers here in just a little bit. Speaking of college football, there were two games other than the Navy-Tulsa that were canceled, Army and Air Force. So you would think, seriously, I think it's Air Force in this particular case. These programs are already in a bubble, right? They're in a bubble in Annapolis. They're in a bubble in Colorado Springs. You would think these would be the last places that you would have COVID outbreaks, but you're getting it. And then here's the Pac-12. Washington and California have just been, and it's canceled. I don't think it's postponed because
they only have 6 weeks.
Right. There is no leeway for them to make up games. And how they didn't even play a game.
No, they haven't even stepped on the field of play. And reports from the Pac-12 that with the new bowl standards, everybody is eligible to compete. That the Pac-12 is saying that you have to be 500 or better. Well, now that puts Cal and Washington at an even bigger deficit to try to get to a bowl game this year. And let's face it, mostly it's just not their fault. It's a pandemic. It's going to affect everybody and everyone, regardless of whether you're playing college football or not.
A sad day, that is for sure, between cancellations, layoffs, Some postponements, you hope. A tough day. We got a really busy show, though, coming your way. Bill Benders, we mentioned, will be here at 4 o'clock. Jim Lighthall, who is a member of the USF football broadcast team. He does the play-by-play for basketball. He is pre and post on football. He will join us at 4. And I got to ask him why Jeff Scott, who turns out, by the way, is really good friends with Ryan Silverfield. They are both about the same age and both first-year head coaches and can relate to each other quite a bit and have talked a whole lot during this season. But Jeff Scott plays more people than any other football team I think I have ever prepared for.
I mean, we're for sure going to see at least 3 quarterbacks, maybe 4.
No, I think you're going to see 2.
They've played 3 in the last 2.
Right. So
and it's been 4 different guys.
There's 4 on their depth chart. One guy hasn't really played much at all. And the third guy got hurt last week, and he could be in concussion protocol. So they don't think he's going to play because of injury. And the other 2 will play. One's a thrower, one's a runner. So we shall see. We'll ask Lighthall about that. But like I told you yesterday, we're talking about 16 different guys have caught the football, 16 different receivers, 15 different guys have carried the ball. It's crazy. Absolutely nutso.
Trying to figure out what you have, I guess, as a first-year coach.
We'll find out from Jim Lighthall. Russell Copeland will join us. My top story is about a couple of new wrinkles in the NFL playoffs. We'll get into that with him in a little bit. Then at 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston talking Tigers. We'll talk more about this Memphis USF game. Tim Doolin on baseball at 5:30. We will end the day with Crunch Time. A couple of program notes. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's show. We always have Bruce Marshall. We got a couple of special guests tomorrow, including Andy Fletcher, the great Major League umpire who was doing playoffs this year, has done all-star games. The only thing he hasn't done is a World Series. We got to get him into doing that because he's as good as it gets. He's going to chat with us just about the baseball season under COVID, and he'll tell stories, and he can spin a story. I can tell you that. He's really good at telling tales. And then we will also hear tomorrow from Penny Hardaway, and we'll find out what he thinks about all of this pandemic craziness and scheduling, and maybe we'll have a little more of the schedule that will come out by the time he is on with us. So that is the way the program will run today.
So you're watching the game, you see another ad for FanDuel Sportsbook, and you think to yourself, is that legal here in Tennessee? You bet it is. FanDuel Sportsbook, now legal in Tennessee. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is easy to use. They've got some of the best odds and markets you'll find anywhere and make it easy to place your bets. Once you win, they pay out cash fast, getting you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. And best of all, you can place your first bet on FanDuel Sportsbook risk-free and get up to $1,000 back if you don't win. Seriously, there's no strings attached. Just place any bet you want. If you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you'll get your entire bet up to $1,000 back in bonus site credit so you can take another shot at the end zone on the house. Tonight in the NFL, Packers big road favorites against San Francisco. 2 college football games from the Mountain West, and this weekend, the best college football weekend of the year so far, and of course Sunday in the NFL. To claim your risk-free bet, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and be sure to sign up with promo code CASH so they know I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CASH. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Site credit is non-withdrawable, expires 7 days after receipt. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. For problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Fall Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and always special lease options. If you ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus too. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500. 2021's on the way, and you'll be looking and driving great. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, we've already given you a bunch of bad news, so I'll give you the dashboard numbers, which are not good, in a bit. I'm going to tell you the top story today is that the NFL playoffs will have two big new wrinkles, which I kind of like because I know for sure it gets my Bears in. They're going from 14 playoff teams to 16 playoff teams, 8 from each conference. NFC gets 8, AFC will get 8. They will seed by winning percentage. So let's just say the NFC East.
Not by division?
No. The NFC East, which will have an under 500 winner, that winner will get in. But they won't be the 4th seed. They will be the 8th seed. And I think that rule may have been put in partially because who knows if we're going to get in all the games, but also because they're so bad they didn't deserve a 4 seed, and the NFL saw what was coming. And so they are going to seed by winning percentage. And division winners are not guaranteed home games either. So not just the NFC. Let's say you got I'm trying to think of one of the worst AFC divisions. Anyway, if that winner is not in the top 4, they're not going to get guaranteed a home site, and that's probably the way it should be. Winning should really.
Well, that could definitely affect
things.
the AFC South, depending on if the Colts or Titans come out of there, because the AFC is just so top heavy that they most likely won't host a game.
Well, but if it's top heavy and the best team is a winning team, they would get a home field advantage. It just depends on winning percentage.
Well, I think right now the Colts and Titans, depending on who comes out of the division, would be behind the Steelers, Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. So, and I like that. I think what you do in the regular season should matter, not just because you're in a lucky division. And so I think that is pretty smart. And then because there are 8 teams from each division, the second big wrinkle, which is sort of a bummer for the teams that have really been good this year, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, there will be no buys. You're playing the very first week. But I've always thought, they wanted to get more teams in. They didn't want to harm those at the top. They didn't want to get to 16 before because that was too many. That's half the field that gets in. So I understood the bye weeks, and you only got 2 that were getting buys. It did make sense, but it's really fairer, I think, that everybody plays the same amount of games. So nobody's rested for week 2 like the top 2 had been.
Yeah, and it doesn't always, correlate into actually winning if you get the top 2 seeds and get the bye. Just ask my Ravens from last year and what the Tennessee Titans were able to do them in their first in their divisional matchup in the playoffs. My top stories of the day, we already talked about the Ohio State leaving the Crossover Classic in Sioux Falls due to spikes in the cases in the 14-day quarantine upon returning to Ohio. Other news out of college basketball, this is being reported by Jeff Goodman of the Stadium. The UConn men's basketball program has had 1 positive COVID-19 test with a player, and it will be shutting down if UConn winds up having to shut down for the full 14 days. That means the Huskies won't return to practice until the 19th, which is just 6 days before their first scheduled game. Whew, that's going to be tough.
Well, they've already had a bunch of practice. Now they'll be off. You're right. It's hard to keep your legs unless you're out there running on your own. I don't know if you're quarantined, can you do that? Can you leave to go run 3 miles?
I don't think you can. I think that's the whole point of quarantine is being quarantined and staying inside of your place of residence.
Maybe so. That would mean that they'd have 6 days to get into the kind of shape they need to be in. That would be extremely tough.
Not top story of the day.
That is COVID everywhere. In Shelby County, 265 new cases today. 0 deaths. That's always a very good number. 2,500 tests at 10% positivity. And frankly, in Shelby County, we've got it pretty good. Only 265, and hospital beds, by the way, the space in hospitalizations, much improved. They're in the mid-80s now in terms of occupancy. So, and most of that is not COVID. So that is really good news because in Tennessee today, 2,000 new cases.
That ain't good.
Now you're at 270,000, 3,500 who have perished. In Mississippi, 16,000 new cases. 16,000. So they have 124,000 total, and they have had 3,400 fatalities. Arkansas, the steadiest, 115,000 with 2,000 who have passed away. In the United States today, 50,000 new cases. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, they said a second wave was coming. It certainly has. 50,000 new today. So we're getting close to 10 million, 9,850,000 with 240,000 fatalities. And around the world now, 431,000 new cases. That's, you're approaching 500,000 new cases in a day. Almost 49 million total cases now, 1,236,000 who have perished. Those are sobering numbers. And folks, it hasn't gone away. So please keep social distancing, keep wearing your mask, keep doing all the things you've been doing, like washing your hands, and being cognizant that as much as we would love for this to be over, these numbers are telling us we are smack dab in the middle of it again.
Yeah, I can't wish it away. My not top story of the day, Alex Cora could possibly have his second stint in Boston as the Red Sox manager. Is being reported that he is a serious candidate for the job opening. Cora obviously managed the Sox in 18 and 19, winning the World Series in 18 and coming fresh off of his 1-year suspension from Major League Baseball for his involvement in the sign-stealing scandal in Houston. So Alex Cora could possibly be the Red Sox manager once again.
Well, so that means that Hinch and Cora both back in the game.
Just got to wait out the suspension.
That's exactly the way it works. So that is the story on the top and the not top stories today. As I mentioned, a very busy show we think you will find and hope you will find enlightening. We'll begin with Bill Bender in a minute. We are officially underway on this Thursday.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 98.5 FM, and 96.1 FM.
Water damage to your home or business can be an absolute nightmare. And the faster you remove the standing water, the faster you can prevent secondary damage. Landmark Construction and Emergency Services specializes in water extraction. They have been a trusted name in the Mid-South for over 20 years. They are a Memphis-based company ready to serve your needs with their 24-hour emergency response. They are always on call and will respond within an hour. They work with most insurance companies and are the official restoration contractor of the Memphis Tigers home team. Landmark Construction and Emergency Services can't prevent disasters in your home and at your business, but their water damage team will certainly respond quickly to minimize and restore the damage. Call 901-452-0390. That's 901-452-0390 or online at landmarkco.org.
Looking for some action? Sports gambling is legal in Tennessee. Action247.com. Local, legal. A sportsbook by Tennesseans, for Tennesseans. Go to Action247.com. Register and place your bets. Are you a sharp or a first-time bettor? Action247 has you covered. Visit us online at Action247.com. Local, legal. Action247. You got action.
Problem gambling? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, sports fans, you already know about the great steaks at the Butcher Shop Steakhouse, a Memphis tradition since 1981. They specialize in hand-cut aged beef right over that hickory charcoal. But did you know the Butcher Shop also has great seafood items, from fresh Atlantic salmon with dill sauce, pan-seared red snapper with sautéed shrimp and Cajun cream sauce, Canadian cold water lobster tails, crab stuffed shrimp, homemade lump crab cakes, and a whole lot more. Oh, and don't forget the Fresh Burger Fridays for only $8.95. Come in, enjoy a fantastic dinner at the Butcher Shop. If you need a great private party, the Butcher Shop is your place. 6 different private rooms, seating from 12 to 250, all equipped with audio-visual. rehearsals, business dinners, lunch, and weddings, you call the Butcher Shop at 901-757-4244. Or you can visit the website at butchershop.com. Just drop in, 107 South Germantown Parkway.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in on a turbulent Thursday, you could say. Stats has the day off. He'll be back hopefully on Monday. In the meantime, we're in the Family Leisure Studios, and I am really pleased to tell you about the Holidays at Home sale taking place at Family Leisure Spas. A million spas still in stock and hundreds on order. You can really cash in right now on pool tables, game tables, arcades, those massage chairs, which are so cool. Buy pools now, you get the 2021 price, so you really will save on the increase that's coming, and you'll get early installation scheduling. They try to make it easy, make the holidays perfect with Family Leisure this holiday season. We go to Columbus, Ohio, and Bill Bender joins us now in a story today that is college basketball related, not college football, but we know you'll be on top of this because it involves the state of Ohio. And that is that the Buckeyes are not going to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to take place in an 18 tournament where they were going to get 3 games because on the back end, when they come back to Columbus, they would have to quarantine for 14 days. I am so confused because what happens to the Houston Cougars who are coming to play the Cincinnati Bearcats? They are supposed to leave for Ohio tomorrow. They can't get quarantined for 2 weeks. What does that mean that Ohio State and Cincinnati can't go on any road trips the rest of the year because of this new rule? I am totally confused by it, Bill. Can you shed light?
Well, I mean, the laws here are fluid right now. I mean, the county next to where we live just went to red. They have a color-coded system with the COVID-19 regulations. I would anticipate that that's not going away because, the numbers in Ohio are getting out of control. So I would anticipate that it continues to impact basketball road trips. I didn't read too much into that story, so I'm sorry if I'm uninformed. But I would anticipate that isn't going away, at least in the state of Ohio.
And I'm not trying to be a smart guy, and I'm not saying it might not be needed because I don't know. And I am certainly one that is cognizant that we are in the middle of this pandemic. It is not anywhere near over. You look at all the new numbers, like 50,000 new in the United States today and 431,000 around the world. We know we're in the middle of this. But where I'm getting confused is how would Ohio State football team, for instance, if this is the case for the basketball team, it would have to be the case for football. How could they take a road trip? How could they go play a game and come back without quarantining?
Well, I can answer that question, at least I think. Ohio, with the restrictions on travel, there is a map that if you go to Ohio COVID, I don't know the exact name of it, but if you Google it, you can find it. That if you go to this, that there's a state, it could be a state that's on our travel restrictions list. I know this happened in the summer. We had some people going to Florida, for example, and they had to self-quarantine for 14 days when they got back.
Oh.
And that could be one of the states on the list. That is actually an answer I think I can get.
So that would have to mean, based on what you just said, that South Dakota is on that list, that if you go there, you'll have to wait or quarantine for 2 weeks upon your return. Drew, have you got that list?
Yeah, I've actually got it pulled up. It's coronavirus.ohio.gov, and according to the Ohio's website, you have to quarantine for 14 days if the state you are visiting has a positive testing rate of 15% or higher. Right now on that list, that would include Idaho, Montana, Utah, South Dakota, Iowa, Kansas, and Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, because we were looking at that when I went to Vegas in October because Nevada was on there for a while. So I guess there's your answer. Why, unless
Yep.
Ohio State's got a home and home with South Dakota State or something, I think the football team might be all right. I'm trying to think of their remaining road games, honestly. They may go to Iowa. Or no, Iowa's coming to them. But, I mean, if you look at Ohio State's schedule, it probably tells you. But, and this is, if we're switching it back to college football, I mean, this is a big question with Wisconsin. If Wisconsin can't go next week, do they cancel their season? I think that's another real possibility at this point.
I would have to think so, because we know that if they can't play one more game, if anywhere along the way they lose another game, they're no longer eligible for the Big Ten championship game.
Correct. And that's why I'm wondering, and, next week they're supposed to play Michigan, which, on the surface, that's a pretty big game. But obviously if they can't, there's going to be a big question as to whether they should play any more games. So, I mean, all of these things are fluid. It's part of this day-to-day college football season that we have. And, you absolutely weren't minimizing what we're all living with here. I mean, the record number of cases and those kind of things, you really just got to take this thing kind of day by day.
Yeah, Bill. With Wisconsin, I mean, if other states, especially in the Big Ten country, adapt what Ohio is doing, Wisconsin right now, according to the Ohio map, is right on the border, right at 14%. So they might not be able to have any teams, even if they do decide to play. But moving to the team up north from y'all at Michigan, obviously a disappointing loss last week against state rival Michigan State. Is this just another example of maybe the Jim Harbaugh Michigan experiment just isn't cut out to work, or is it just 2020 is a weird year?
No, you're onto something. I think it could be a tipping point in some ways, because as I wrote about it after, sorry, my son's trying to tip a lacrosse ball over. I think it's a tipping point in some ways, because you start to wonder, is this going to ever be a Big Ten championship team? They were out-coached, out-hustled, out-schemed, pretty much out everything against the Spartans, and I do think that was his worst loss, because they looked ill-prepared. They didn't run the ball. Some of the things that surfaced when games happened, and when those things happen, it got rough. And that, I mean, you guys know, that gap between Ohio State has not got any closer, and I think that's what's going to continue.
Do you think the pressure, I just can't think Harbaugh would really succumb to it, but has all of the criticism and the questioning, has it finally gotten to Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know. I just think watching that game, I think the most frustrating thing for some Michigan fans last week would have had to been that they didn't adjust. It wasn't like Michigan State was doing anything out of the ordinary to attack them. They were throwing deep routes on the corners. That corners couldn't handle it. I just think it's just, I don't want to say the game's passing by, because I still think Jim Harbaugh will be a really good NFL coach. I just don't know if he's the right coach for the college game, how it's changed right now, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And, not to pile on Michigan, but do you think that Michigan, especially the fan base and the amount of pressure that is put on that program, is becoming disillusional about what their actual top-of-the-mountain moment can be? I mean, they've had one national championship in all three of our lifetimes. Do they need to accept more realistic standards?
I mean, that's every program in the country.
That's true.
To me. I mean, but Michigan has won more games than any other program. But to your point, they haven't won a Big Ten championship since 2004. Knowing that, then it's easy to know that how do they get back to that? And I think, it's that stat I put out there Saturday, and I tell you guys all the time, I mean, Ohio State's not losing to Penn State or Wisconsin either.
Mm-mm.
But Jim Harbaugh wasn't paid $9 million to go 3-3 against Michigan State and have a winning record against Penn State. He was brought there to close the gap with Ohio State. And if anything, Ohio State's really widened that gap. It's very Clemson-like with the ACC. I think Notre Dame's going to find that out Saturday too, by the way.
I was just going to ask you about that game. I mean, here you have lost what many feel is the best quarterback in this country at the collegiate level. You've lost him, and yet the Clemson Notre Dame game is the Tigers by 5.5, and the line went up after it opened, which was a bit surprising considering you're using a freshman quarterback. Does that ring anything in your head? And honestly, the game is at home with Clemson.
I think with DJ, I'm going to try it. Uiagalelei, that's pretty close.
We just call it DJ U.
That DJ U, you could do that. He's pretty good. He's pretty gifted, and I think it's going to be. They're going to try to establish Travis Etienne early. They're going to try to do some things to make sure that he's comfortable. It's not as intimidating without a full stadium, which is a shame because, as I wrote for us this week, the 4 times in my lifetime that Notre Dame played number 1 at home was the Bush Push game. It was 93 Florida State, Catholic convicts, and a really good game against Nebraska in 2000. So not having that crowd might make a difference. I just think Clemson's a better team, and I think they got their scare out of the way with that first half meltdown against BC. Because if you guys noticed, in the second half, BC didn't exactly move the ball against that defense.
No.
I think Venables said something to them.
Well, and it really wasn't their offense that was terrible in the first half. It was this great defense of Venables.
Oh, yeah, and their defensive line's good. The pressure's on Notre Dame here because without Lawrence, that you got to wonder, can Notre Dame win this game? Can Ian Book? Ian Book's 26-3 is Notre Dame's starter. But those 3 losses, Georgia, Clemson in the playoff, and then Michigan on the road. And I was at that game. It was a big rainstorm that night. So the pressure's on them. If they can get a split against Clemson, they still got a decent chance to make the playoff, but they got to get the one at home without Trevor on the field.
Yeah, it's definitely a must-win for Notre Dame if they want to have a realistic shot at making the CFP. Pac-12 starting and already having some complications with the Washington and Cal game already canceled. Do you think that with they only had they're trying to do what the impossible thing the Big Ten did, but they're trying to just do it in 6 weeks? Do you think they will realistically have a team that finishes having played all 6 games?
To your point, the margin for error, again, it's the same thing we talked about with the Big Ten. I was excited to watch Pac-12 football this week. It's not the 2 games I'm most excited to watch are still on. USC and Arizona State, 2 good quarterbacks are playing early. And then Oregon, who I think should be a playoff caliber team, but we're going to find out. So, again, it's that margin for error. It's one day at a time. We've now got 6 weeks of the regular season left, and every day there could be something pop up. And, again, the numbers going up, it's going to make it tough. So you're just hoping that teams can get through this. It is a demolition derby of sorts, and we'll see who's standing. But, we are gifted this weekend. I'll say that. 2 top 10 matchups, pretty good matchups between Indiana and Michigan. And I think Friday night, you got to find a way to get away from your family and watch BYU Boise State. That's going to be a fun game.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think if Indiana were to win this game, and they would be 3-0, now they got to go to Ohio State on the 21st, but is that a team we could actually start to think of as a New Year's Day 6 kind of team, or even better?
Yeah, they'll be in the top 10. Here's what I've been telling people all week. We just talked about Michigan. Indiana hasn't beat Michigan since 1987. That was 1 year after Harbaugh was the quarterback at Michigan.
Wow.
So they've literally it's been that long. I looked it up today, and I watched some video from that game. It was a game in Bloomington in 87, and Bo had a rare loss against the Hoosiers. But if they win that one, then it goes into Ohio State. Now, there's a team they haven't beat since 88. What would that say about Tom Allen and the program he's built in a place where they're more worried about those basketball quarantines than what the Hoosiers are doing on the basketball court?
It would say he's up for contention for National Coach of the Year. Speaking of which, another guy that could be in contention is Luke Fickell. And the way I saw Cincinnati firsthand Their defense is
They're just good.
awfully good. Do they start to get in the conversation if they continue to beat people the way they've been beating people? And this week they've got another good offense in Houston.
They've got I got a little bit of a rooting guide for Cincinnati. They've got to hope that the Pac-12, Oregon, and USC implode. I think they're in good shape on the Big 12 side. They need Clemson to sweep Notre Dame. They need Alabama to beat the East champions. They need Ohio State to keep doing what they're doing. That's not impossible. And then on top of that, they need to keep doing what they've done the last 2 weeks, which is not just beat good teams. SMU and Memphis are good teams. They dominated. So they need to go out and keep doing that. Got a good quarterback, 2 good running backs, an excellent defense. To me, I mean, even if it wasn't a COVID-impacted season, they'd be a top 10 team. So I'm all about it and love the job that this coach has done there.
Yeah, real quick, because I know we are up against the break, Bill, but talk about Alabama having to beat the SEC East representative, and that's going to come out of the cocktail party this week. How do you see that one going against Georgia and Florida?
Fun game. I mean, 2 teams that Florida's offense is good, Georgia's defense is good. Kyle Trask 4 more touchdowns every game this season. That's an amazing stat. Now, on the other side, there's questions about Georgia's offense, and there's questions about Florida's defense. So it's one of those rare strength on strength, kind of weakness on weakness matchups. And, the way they've played the last couple, it's going to be a fun game. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the Bulldogs will win. But when I picked them, I still feel kind of like, man, Florida with that quarterback, they could go out and absolutely win that game.
Who was it said yesterday, and I kind of buy into that theory. When you're not sure and you look at 2 teams that are pretty equal, go with the team that's got the best QB. And there's no doubt Trask is the best QB in that game. Bill Bender, as always, we truly appreciate it. You stay healthy. Enjoy the football this weekend. We'll do this again next Thursday.
Hey, sounds good, guys. Appreciate you both. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye-bye. Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Brought to you in part by the good folks at Dinstall's. And I got to tell you, lots of things happening. It's time to start thinking about holiday gifts. Many companies are shipping their gifts before Thanksgiving. Dinstall's makes it fresh, so you should get your order in place now so they can schedule the production of the candy in time for the holidays. Select the Tower of Cashew Crunch, assorted chocolates, even the Great Turtlettes. Dinstall's can find just the right assortment that will fit your budget. What better way to say thank you for your business than a gift made right here in Memphis? A tradition. Dinstall's Candies. Give Dinstall's a call today and think about placing that order as soon as you can at Dinstall's. We take the quick timeout. We are back with a wrap of hour number 1 right after this.
Get happy with Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
This is Jesse's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
As a nurse, not making it to work was not an option. But driving through the snow with my wiper blades struggling, I just didn't feel safe. So I pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts, and before I knew it, an employee was offering to install the wiper blades on my car. I got to stay out of the snow for a moment, and I still made it to work on time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal housing lender.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join us every Saturday morning on Sports 56 WHBQ from 8 to 10 a.m. and 96.1 FM and the new FM 98.5. We'll be covering the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, college football, college basketball, college baseball. We'll look into recruiting. We'll have guests from around the country with the latest news, the most knowledgeable people out there, the coaches, the players, the people who play the games. Don't forget to join us on the sidelines. Sports 56, 96.1, and the new FM 98.5.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Please do not confuse the news and the messenger. Don't shoot us. More bad news. Breaking, and again, the guy who is reporting all of these COVID-related issues is Brett McMurphy. What's the next cancellation here?
New cancellation Saturday. It's Louisiana Tech and North Texas game has been postponed because of COVID-19 issues at North Texas.
So we've got North Texas and Louisiana Tech. We've got Navy
and Tulsa.
We've got Army and Air Force.
Washington and Cal.
Washington. So there's 4.
I believe that's it for right now. But I would not be shocked if there's another one.
I'm trying to remember, how many did we have? I knew we had a lot of high school games canceled last week. How many were there any college games canceled last week from COVID?
I'm sure there was. I can look at it real quick. I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 because there has been at least 1 or 2 every single week of the season thus far.
Wisconsin
was canceled.
Was canceled last week. Oh man, it is. Well, we thought there would be tough times.
North Texas UTEP was canceled last week as well.
Yeah. So 2 last week, and we've got 4 already this week. And who knows what will happen next week, because there usually is carryover, which could connect Memphis, because they are scheduled to go to Annapolis and play next Saturday at 2:30. So yesterday we started talking about different ways the basketball team may travel. And different travel partners, which made a lot of sense to many of us. You know, you knock it out, you get 2, so you play Thursday, Saturday, then you're home, right? And you knock those 2 out, and then those 2 would come to you maybe for another Thursday and Saturday the following week, or whenever it may be down the road. And so there are 3 of them that are really easy, that make a lot of sense. Houston and SMU.
Right down the road.
That's a Dallas-Houston swing. You fly into one, you take a bus to the other, you fly out of the other. Easy. No problem. That's 2 hours or so between Dallas and Houston. It's a quick trip. Tulsa and Wichita, same thing. Makes a lot of sense. No issue. Fly to Wichita, bus to Tulsa, catch a plane after your final game, boom, you're home. UCF, USF.
40 minutes away.
Same thing. I mean, that is really a little longer than 40 minutes, but it is close.
Well, I've driven from Tampa to Orlando at like 2 in the morning one time, and it only took me 40 minutes. So.
Well, I've done it several times because I have an aunt who lives in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
When I visited Orlando, there you were flying low. You were speeding your tail off.
It might have been a little longer than 40, but it felt pretty close to it.
It's close. It's under an hour. Let's put it that way. USF, UCF, that makes a lot of sense. Now you're struggling because here's your teams that are left. Cincinnati, Temple, East Carolina, Memphis, and Tulane. Well, Memphis and Tulane make the most sense. We're right along the river.
5 hours apart.
It is 5 hours. It's not that easy hour, 2 hour, or whatever that might be, which is what you're looking at with the other 3 teams. This is a little bit further, but geographically that makes the most sense. Now, remember, there's only 11. We don't have 12 teams in the league, so now you got Cincinnati, Temple, and East Carolina, and
East Carolina and Temple probably be the closest, maybe, or Cincinnati and Temple. I mean, I'd have to look at a map.
Yeah, I'm not sure which 3 are or 2 of those 3 are closest, but it doesn't matter. You still have to have one that is without a partner.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how that totally could work.
It's a good idea, and I think that you could use it for most of them. You know, have that be the case for, you know, like the 6 that we just talked about with the Florida schools, Texas and Tulsa and Wichita, have it work out for them. If you want to do Memphis, Tulane, I think it'd work, but at least cut down on the exposure for half the league. And cutting down on any exposure is better than no cut downs, right?
Maybe so, but you still have to incorporate somehow those other teams in there. And I'm not sure how you can do that when you're scheduling for everybody, not just those teams. So that becomes a little bit more intriguing. If they were ever to get a fourth team here or a 12th team, and we've said, well, the best one would be Gonzaga if you were able to get Gonzaga, or Boise. You could do both. But that would leave you with an uneven amount in football. So the best way to do this is to get a team that would be basketball.
No, you're still at 11 at football, so you'd be back at 12 in general.
I mean for football. That's right, because we already have 12 for basketball. Don't we? We have Wichita.
Yes, we do have 12 for basketball.
So the one that's missing, so I'm missing a team here. I just realized. Have to be missing a team. No, you have Navy football, and you're down to 11 there.
You were missing nobody. Navy, I guess, we didn't talk about Navy. We said, Navy would be Temple. Navy and Temple would probably lock up.
Navy and Temple.
And then Cincinnati and East Carolina would be, and football-wise, would be out by themselves.
Right.
But in basketball, it wouldn't work that way.
No, because you lost Connecticut. And Connecticut, you could do any of those four, and that would have made sense with Connecticut as being an East Coast team. And if you were to add a basketball only here, I'll tell you the way I would go with that. I would love for like St. Louis to be in the league.
I'd take it.
Get that metro area in, and they're usually a pretty good team, and their conference is really not a good fit for them.
I'd be happy to travel to St. Louis every year.
Yeah. That you could put St. Louis and Memphis together, Cincinnati and Memphis, and Temple, East Carolina. Those would be your travel partners. Well, that's what's just kicking it around a little bit.
It's a thought.
Yeah. Who knows when we'll get a basketball schedule up, but we do know we'll have Penny on tomorrow, and maybe he'll shed some light on all of that. This portion of our show is brought to you by Brian Elder's Roofing Solution. Please call my guys. Brian Elder, well, you know him around forever. What a good job he's done in the roofing business. And now his partner, his buddy, is our own Chris Price. Call him, and you will do well. The whole point that Brian Elder and crew likes to make is be proactive. Look, we've had a lot of rain this year, a lot of rain. Have you checked your roof? Let them check your roof. If you have any questions, you see any shingles that are in disarray, call them, and they'll call your insurance company. They're really good at figuring all that out. They never fix anything that is not they're not going to go and say, oh, you need something here when you don't. They only fix what is needed. And they only use the best products on the market. They also have what I think is the best warranty for roofing contractors, period. At Brian Elder, they stand by their no questions asked warranty. It sets them apart from all of the others. And they use the best equipment, the latest technology. You know, they like to brag they can measure your roof from outer space, but really they would like to come and inspect it up close. All you got to do to be on the safe side, to be proactive, is to call Chris Price or Brian Elder at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. That's the number for Brian Elder Roofing Solutions. That's an hour in the books. We're back in just a minute. We'll go to Tampa. Our friend Jim Whitehall from the USF Radio Network will talk Bulls and Tigers football in just a minute.
Ryan Radke from Westwood One with a Thursday night football preview sponsored by Prilosec. Treat your frequent heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's a rematch of last year's NFC title game between the 49ers and the Packers. San Francisco has had an injury-plagued first half of the year, and that trend continued with both Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle sidelined again in last week's loss to the Seahawks. Here's head coach Kyle Shanahan.
I was disappointed with the whole group. No one played great. That always starts with me, but we got a game coming up soon, so we can turn the page pretty quick and get ready for Green Bay.
At 5-2, Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay continue to put up big numbers, but they need a bounce-back win following last week's loss to the Vikings. Rod Woodson and I have the call. 49ers and the Packers on Thursday Night Football.
Remember to listen to Westwood One's coverage of the NFL all season long. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hey, frequent heartburn may keep you from running your A game, but it doesn't have to anymore. Join the Prilosec OTC 2-week challenge. Just go to prilosecotc.com. You'll get $3 off to get you started, plus 14 days of tips, tricks, and reminders. Just 2 weeks, zero heartburn. Go to prilosecotc.com and sign up today. Zero heartburn is possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Now at Lowe's, we're saying thanks to our pros in more ways than ever before during our Provember event. We have deals on the brands you trust, like DeWalt, Spyder, and Metabo HPT. We also have credit options you won't want to miss. Plus, for 5 days only, November 9th through the 13th, bring in an old bucket from one of our competitors and get a brand new 5-gallon Lowe's branded bucket free. Just one more reason why we're the new home for pros. Limit 1 bucket per customer while supplies last. U.S. only.
Hey, we understand. With everything that's happening, with all the new regulations, maybe you're not ready to come and hang out at Sweetgrass to catch a ball game. We want you to, we really do. And we're open for you to do just that. But we're also offering the next best thing, the new Sweetgrass Tailgate Party Packs. Whether it's wings, house-made dips, sliders, or other Sweetgrass tasty treats, all you have to do is call us or go to sweetgrassmemphis.com to order just what you're dreaming of when you're dreaming of watching sports and enjoying some sweet, sweet Sweetgrass.
Spend the holidays at home this year with a little help from Family Leisure. Family Leisure has so many spas in stock and hundreds more on order. Now's your time to really save big. Huge savings on pool tables, game tables, arcades, massage chairs, and a whole lot more. Buy a pool now and save the 2021 price increase. Plus, you'll get early installation scheduling. The Holidays at Home sale happening now at Family Leisure, Whidden Road at I-40, where family and fun come together for the holidays.
Hey, I heard that you just got a new car.
Yes, I sure did, and I could not believe how simple it was.
Really? Tell me what happened.
I bought my car at Cars Inc. They are family owned, and the choices of cars were the best I've ever seen. They even said they could price match with anyone and help me with whatever financing I needed.
Wow, it does sound like they know what they are doing.
Their family has been in the car business for over 30 years, and they're excited about being in Memphis.
Where are they?
5095 Cummington Way, and their phone number is 901-623-7180.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in hour number 2 on a very turbulent Thursday afternoon. If you haven't heard, COVID all over the place. Lots of staggering numbers, including in the United States today, 50,000 new cases. That is very, very scary. Also, cancellations of football games in the American. There will be no Navy and Tulsa game. Tulsa's had 3 cancellations already. Navy's not the only school from the military schools that is out. Now, Army and Air Force also canceled because, I think, of problems at the Air Force Academy. So you would think that the bubbles in Annapolis and in Colorado Springs would be pretty darn good, but apparently not good enough because we have COVID everywhere. Ohio State is pulled out of the basketball tournament in Sioux Falls because it turns out, as we found out thanks to our friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News, South Dakota is on this list of states that if somebody from Cincinnati goes to that state and then returns, they have to quarantine for 14 days. There were a number of states there, and I guess the quotient is if you have more than 15% positive cases in your testing, they don't want you to go there.
Yeah, right now on that list, like I said, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Iowa, Kansas, Alabama. Wisconsin's pretty close. Utah's pretty close on that list as well. Pennsylvania is very close. All three of those are 14%.
And a economic ramification from this pandemic is ESPN, because of the parent company with problems, that's Disney, has cut 300 people today. Getting laid off will be some of talent, including today we learned Ivan Mizell, who's about as good a historian of college football as there is, was let go by the powerhouse in Bristol, Connecticut. So this is sad news today for sure. But at least in Memphis, at least for the moment, the Bulls and the Tigers will take front and center, 11 o'clock Memphis time, Saturday morning. Jim Lighthall is the Bulls basketball play-by-play announcer, but he's pre and post on football, kind enough to join us today. You guys are taking off tomorrow. I guess I want to start there.
Well, so far, I mean, yeah, that's usually a last-minute decision, but as of this moment, Dave, the team is leaving tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, I am really glad to hear that for sure. I want to start with your football team because I've been doing games quite a bit, quite a few years now. In all of the times that I've done these games, I am not sure I have ever seen a football team that has played so many guys as you guys have. 16 wide receivers have caught a catch, at least one. 15 guys have at least one carry. Running backs. I mean, that includes quarterbacks. That is astounding. You've played 4 different quarterbacks. I think 2 are going to play. Maybe 3 are going to play in this game. Why so many personnel involved in the process for Jeff Scott, Jim Lighthall?
Well, I think it's a multitude of reasons, Dave, and I guess I'll start with this. When Jeff Scott got the job, it was obviously a weird time. He was finishing up recruiting, thinking he'd get to spring football, then he would have fall camp, and then he'd be off and running. Well, they had one spring practice, and then everything got shut down. But he came right out and said, I'm not going to look at any film from last year. I don't want to see any games. Now, the year was a disaster to begin with, so maybe it was a good thing that he didn't watch anything. But he said, I want everything. You hear coaches say this, but not many actually walk it. Mm-hmm. They'll talk it, but they don't walk it. He said, I don't want to look at anybody from last year. I want to evaluate these kids myself. So if somebody was 4th string last year, they've got a shot to start for me. And so they only had the practices during the fall because spring got shut down. And, of course, they had to stop, I believe, one time during the fall. So there was limited practices. So he's essentially still trying guys out. I mean, the position battle is still open, and we're midway through the year. So that's why so many people are playing. I guess the old adage is if you have 3 or 4 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterback, might apply here as well because they're still trying to figure that out. We did our pregame show 2 weeks ago saying this thing is settled. Jordan McLeod is the quarterback because he played very well on the road against Temple. So then at home against Tulsa 2 weeks ago, he throws 7 passes, goes 2 for 7 for 8 yards. He's out of the game and doesn't really see the field again other than in play or 2. Cade Fortin comes in, the North Carolina transfer. He didn't play for the first 3 games of the year. He was unavailable. So finally he gets his chance. He looks fantastic, and then he hurts his shoulder in his first action. So, you don't know who's playing from week to week, number one. They had a ton of unavailables for the first 3 weeks of the season. They had none for their last game against Tulsa. So that's a long answer to the fact that he just has a ton of guys that he's trying to figure out. And then there's also the old line of they might be 2 or 3 players away from being 2 or 3 players away.
Yeah, Jim, I mean, it's a good way to actually do it. I mean, especially not having a spring and a full off season, let's just let everybody play. We know that we're probably not going to be that good. Let's figure out what we have going forward. So in that, what do they have going forward? I mean, who could be some bright spots for this team, not this year, but maybe as they develop into the next few years to come?
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that point in the fact that I think, I don't have this on any good authority, but knowing Michael Kelly the way I do, the new vice president of athletics, he's been in the job for a couple of years, but I think he's probably told Jeff Scott, hey, this year's a wash. I get it. You don't have many players. Charlie left the cupboard absolutely bare. You had no spring. You virtually had no fall. This is a throwaway year. Let's get ready for next year. But you're right. There are some pieces here that they can build on. The offensive line has some pieces. They did not play their first game together until week 3 or week 4, and they had 4 kids coming back. A kid by the name of Donovan Jennings is a real nice piece up front for them. Johnny Ford, to me, is as electric a player as there is in the American. He's 5'5", he's about 160 pounds, and if you blink, he's gone. He's super quick. He's really put together in a small, powerful package so he can break tackles. He is super fast. He's a great return guy, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield, too. That's another thing that he's really good at. That's a piece that they're going to have going forward. And there's a name that many people don't even know. Omarion Dollison is a wide receiver out of South Carolina, true freshman. He has played his way right up the depth chart, put up huge numbers in the state of South Carolina at a lower level. Jeff Scott knew all about him because he was at Clemson, and it was a huge get for him. He was kind of a high 3, low 4 wide receiver, and he has been really good. I know he leads the team right now in yards per catch at about 15.5. He's the kid that had the 0-yard punt return in the first week of the season, too, which was all over SportsCenter, which nobody has ever seen before or since. So he just has a nose for the ball. And then on the defensive side, they've got a linebacker by the name of Antonio Greer, who's really nice. Dwayne Boyles was their leading sack guy last year and leading tackler. He's back. He's got another couple of years, but they've only played together, I think, for maybe 1 half or 2 halves because Greer got a targeting and Boyles was out with a bad back. So they're trying to put these pieces together. Up front, they don't have a whole lot. On defense, they can't get to the quarterback at all. And then on the back end, they're really experienced in the secondary. So most of those kids are going to be gone.
You guys have so many little mighty mites. And you talk about Ford. Our guys were saying he's really like 5'3", and he can hide behind the big offensive lineman. But they really respect him. And you mentioned Omarion Donaldson. There's another 5'9" guy with speed to burn. Even your talented corner, KJ Sales, is a little guy. So it is a bunch of mighty mites. And if I could piggyback on one of the points you made from Drew, this is a throw-a-year way in a lot of different avenues because everybody can come back, right? So if you're a coach and you're trying to manage rosters because there's going to be a lot of transfers, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody gets a free transfer year starting next year. You not only have your complimentary 85 with 25 new, right? But you are now going to have the ability, or maybe to some it'll be a liability, where every one of these guys has the right to stay. So you're trying to find who really can play, who really fits the way you want to play, so that you can say to them, guess what? You might need to transfer because you're not going to play. And this is the way you find out, by rotating as many different guys in as you possibly can. And Jeff Scott's done that.
Yeah, he's had to because, again, when you beat the Citadel and then you don't beat anybody else, why are you loyal to anyone? You might as well see who can play and who can't play, and you can make those decisions very, very quickly. Dave, you bring up a good point, too, and this is something that we just kind of kick around, here and there, but how bad the schools are hemorrhaging money right now with no football. Nobody has any money. I just find it amazing that schools are going to be able to keep kids around on scholarship for another year and bring in a whole nother recruiting class, and those guys are all on scholarship. I don't know where the schools are going to get the money for all this stuff. I would think they would love, actually, if there's a kid on the fence, that he's going to transfer out because it just seems like a whole lot more money out of pocket. And everyone I talked to in the athletic department said this is not going to be fixed next year. We don't know what next year is going to look like, and it might take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years before athletic departments get back up and running at full speed again.
Well, everybody now, even in basketball, think about this. Even in hoops, you get a free year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a kid that wants to get a graduate degree, you get to stay unless somehow they figure out a way to run you out, and you could be a sophomore on a team, and you're still going to get all those years. And so they're going to have to go up on the limit of scholarships. But as you just said, Jim, that is a financial drain. And think about this today, okay? Clemson, and we were bringing up the fact that Clemson is probably the third most lucrative, certainly in the top 10, but has the potential to be the third most lucrative of all the revenue stream college football teams based on their attendance, the playoff games that they're in all the time, and the TV package that the ACC has. The Big Ten and the SEC are better, so you'd have to assume Ohio State and Alabama probably have more revenue stream coming in than Clemson. Today, Clemson eliminated track and field and cross country. If Clemson is closing down programs, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think is going to happen to more mid-major teams that aren't even drawing or don't have the television money the others have? And now you're adding scholarships, as you just said. That's really tough. And I don't know how they'll sort it out because, as you said, this is not a ramification of only 1 year. This is a 4-year ramification.
Well, Dave, here's another thing, too, and you mentioned Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State. It's tough on Memphis and USF when they lose home games or they can only allow, 8,000 people in, 10,000 people in. Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State and Florida, they're bringing in $6 or $7 million per home game. USF might bring in $1 million or $2 million on their home games.
Right.
So they're doing it on a shoestring, but now you're talking about losing $7 million every week without a big crowd. So, those schools have a lot of money. What's the old Patrick Ewing line? We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money too.
Right.
That's kind of the way it is with those big schools.
And that's why they did away with non-conference games. They did not want to have to pay a buy game when they didn't have anybody in the stands to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, and back to the South Florida, and like you said, you think that they basically have considered this a throwaway year, just what Jeff Scott has to deal with. What do you think is the biggest reason that Strong didn't work out at USF?
Wow, that's a loaded question right there. First of all, they couldn't move the football. They really couldn't move the football. Once Quentin Flowers left that program, they couldn't move it at all. They couldn't score. Flowers was so good because he could throw it, but mainly because they could run it. They had Marlon Mack, who ended up in the NFL. They had Marquez Belda-Scantling, who's in the NFL at wideout spot. Rodney Adams is a guy that's been in and out of the NFL at wideout. They were able to spread the field with those weapons on the outside and then run the football. And then his last 2 years, they just didn't run it at all. Johnny Ford came in as a freshman, played a little bit, and everybody thought, wow, he might be the answer. But then he got suspended after the second game of the year and didn't play the rest of the way. And so, Strong's last season, he didn't have Ford as a weapon back there. So once they couldn't run the football and they didn't have a quarterback of the caliber of Quentin Flowers, no one respected their pass game. So Blake Barnett was a nice piece who had transferred in, started like gangbusters, but pretty soon after he had a couple games of 300 yards, they said, well, we're just going to take the pass away and make you run it, and they couldn't run it. And then once they couldn't run it, they couldn't do anything because Barnett got hurt, and they didn't really have anybody behind that. So you guys know in today's day and age, in college, pro, high school, pee-wee, doesn't matter. If you don't have a quarterback, you can't play. I mean, there's just no teams that can do anything without a quarterback. And right now, the USF Bulls kind of find themselves in that situation. They might find one out of the group they have now, but at the moment, they're really struggling.
Well, so I'm gonna go with you on elimination here. Fortin is out because of his shoulder. McLeod is out because he threw poorly. So that means Noah Johnson starting. Is that right, the grad transfer?
Well, he threw, 20, I want to say he threw 20, high 20s 2 weeks ago attempts. They don't want him throwing 30 times a game because he's more of a runner.
Right.
Now, I've seen him throw at Alcorn State. He's a pretty decent thrower, but I don't think they really want him doing that. Jeff Scott said something in the pregame show 2 weeks ago when he said, I'm going into each week at the quarterback battle, again, with a clean slate. Guys can move up and down that depth chart out of four people. There's the Marsh kid is a true freshman. He actually started a game earlier this year.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
that's kind of your fourth person in the Derby. But he said we had a kid going into the week of the Tulsa game that was fourth on the depth chart, and by the end of the week, he was the backup. Well, Jordan McLeod went out right away, and Noah Johnson was the first guy in. So that means Johnson went from fourth to second in the span of about 3 days.
Wow.
Now, he could go from first to fourth in 3 more days. Just don't know. I just don't know if he's going to hold on to the job. A lot of people really like Cade Fortin because he has a big arm, and then he showed he could move the other night, but then he got hurt. So I just don't know if he's going to be available.
Wow. Crazy year.
Yeah, Jim, if like you said, if they don't really want to have high passing attempts, I mean, this is kind of the game for the Bulls to have high passing attempts because, let's be honest, we all know how bad the Memphis secondary is. Do you think that this will be the week that they just say, you know what, screw it, let's let it fly?
Yeah, that's what I would think. I was doing a lot of work on the game last night, and I'm just looking at the Memphis numbers on defense, and I thought, man, they can't move it on Saturday. Who are they going to move it on? But you know what? Said the same exact thing about East Carolina earlier this year. And guess what? They didn't move the football at all. They couldn't do anything on offense. And everybody was scoring on East Carolina before the Bulls played them. So I would think they're going to try and throw the football a little bit. What really hurts USF is when you look at their stable of running backs, you know, Johnny Ford's back there. Kelly Joyner is a young player who put up huge numbers in high school. He had 1,000 yards rushing in his first 3 games before he got hurt.
He had 100 against Memphis last year.
He had 100 against Memphis last year, which I'll tell you how amazing that number is, Dave. You look at the quarterback stats for USF last year. They were like 6 of 19 for 44 yards, and Joyner still managed to get 100 yards. So, you know, he has shown flashes of being really, really good. But again, small, quick, that's everybody in Florida, pretty much. They don't have the guy who's 225 pounds who can be a battering ram that can absolutely get you 3 or 4 yards when you need it. So that's where they run into problems. And a lot of times, too, in the ground game, these kids, Ford and Joyner, they'll try to make something out of nothing. Next thing you know, it's 2nd and 14, and now you have to throw the ball. So they're not winning first down. That's been their problem. If they do win first down, they'll go right down the field. But they're bottom 10 in the country in tackles for loss allowed. They're bottom 10 in the country in sacks. They're getting beat up front, and the running backs have no place to go. And then it's 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and they're terrible on 3rd down.
Oh, yeah,
29%.
That's the worst I've seen in a couple of years, to be honest.
Yeah,
they're 29%.
Yeah, they're and the defense is equally as bad. They're giving up almost 53%. So if you can't sustain drives on 3rd down or get off the field on 3rd down, you know, you're going to lose by 30 points almost every week.
Well, usually we like to talk about strength on strength. You know, this sort of weakness on weakness, you guys are at the bottom of the barrel. You're 3rd best in total defense, but at the bottom in rush defense. Memphis has struggled to run the ball, especially against Cincinnati last week. So I imagine that is our biggest key. Can Memphis run the ball against a defense that has given up a lot of running yardage?
Yeah, we faced a lot of big backs this year. And listen, this is my 24th year with USF, and the big back has given not as many as you.
That's true. I am older than you.
But, you know, since day one, the big bruising running back has given USF problems. And again, that goes back to the fact that, you know, Florida turns out a lot of these undersized Derek Brooks-style linebackers where the kids are 200 pounds and they can run sideline to sideline like crazy, but then you start slamming someone who's 230 pounds at them between the guards, and they get run over. So we've run into a lot of those guys this year, and that's one of the reasons why the rushing defense has been so bad. And plus the fact that they can't get to the quarterback. They have 3 sacks all year. 3. And it's all come from a linebacker, Antonio Greer. He's the only guy to get to the quarterback.
and you've given up 18. So that is not a favorable statistic to look at for USF.
Yeah, it definitely isn't, Jim. Real quick before we have to let you go, since you are do basketball for South Florida, just want to get your opinion on the lack of basketball schedule from the American. When do you think we're going to get it?
Well, I'm in constant contact with the sports information director and the folks in the athletic department, and nobody seems to know. Just to give a quick example, we were supposed to play Bethune-Cookman in the first game of the year, and Bethune was the first team to basically shut down all their sports in the spring. So that game went out the window. So USF is still scrambling to get their non-conference games done. I think we've heard the window dates for the American in basketball there in mid-December when it can start, but I've heard so many different scenarios. Bubble deals, men and women playing together on the same date.
Travel partners. There's a bunch of scenarios that who knows.
Yeah, and nobody knows for sure. I think if you tried to pin somebody down, I just read something on ESPN the other day, and they contacted all these coaches, and every one of them said, "We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen a week from now. We don't know if we'll have fans for the games. We just don't know yet."
In your 24 years and my million years, there has never been a more chaotic and crazy time. Jim, always a pleasure chatting with you. I really hope I get to see you this year.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see each other. It's kind of weird.
I know it. But we shall talk, that is for sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
I enjoyed it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Take care.
Me too. Yep. Bye-bye. That is Jim Lighthall, who is the basketball voice and pre and post for football of the South Florida Bulls. Our title sponsor for this hour of the program is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, and Genesis of Olive Branch. Same building, same people, 13, 14 years. They've been together. I'm meeting with them next week. I can't wait because I'm going to learn more about the Genesis, and I can't wait to see if that 2021 Genesis SUV has arrived yet. This may be the most talked about new car in a long time. They've been planning it for years. You know the Genesis luxury cars. Now, I've had a 70, I've had a 90. I hope I get a chance to try this SUV. Right now, I've got the Sonata. I can just tell you about technology, which you get in Hyundais and you get in the Genesis cars. They are complex. They are the latest in technology, safe. You know by now, Hyundai tied for the most number of top safety pick vehicles in 2020. And my Sonata that I've got right now, so high-tech, so cool, that I can get out of my car with my key fob, park the car. Yeah, you heard me right. No, I'm not sure if they spent millions on a technology that I'm going to use once, but it's there. I got it. It's incredible and so durable. Every new car, every new Hyundai, every new Genesis gets a limited lifetime powertrain warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. Even the certified pre-owned cars get some sort of warranty. And now they're throwing in, with every new Hyundai and Genesis, a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package. This is why they've raised the bar. This is the standard for the way car business should be done. I want you to see for yourself. Get on Lamar. It's Highway 78 when you get to State Line Road. The very first exit is Craft Road. Turn left and see Chris True and all the gang. You will thank me later because you'll love Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. We take a break. When we come back, Russell Copeland on the National Football League. They are playing tonight, the Packers and the Niners. At least 10 minutes ago, I saw that they were. We'll check in with Russell in just a minute.
Same great shows.
We welcome you back to Sports 56 Middays. What's up, it's Sports 56 Happy Hour.
A new spot on the FM dial. Check out Sports 56 on our new FM home at 98.5.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in, halfway through our Thursday. Don't forget, coming up, 7 o'clock tonight on Sports 56, 98.5 and 96.1. The Packers and the 49ers. The 49ers will be without, I guess, their wide receiver, who had a false positive, but he had the San Francisco 49ers facilities shut down this week. Lots of shutdowns this week. The Bears shut down today. The Houston Texans shut down today. So we know COVID is still very, very much here. Let's begin with tonight's game, though. San Francisco and Green Bay. Green Bay got rocked a couple of weeks ago to Minnesota. There was no decision that was made for a trade at the deadline, which I know did not sit well with Aaron Rodgers. You got a Packers team that is not exactly on the upswing, and then you got a 49ers team, no quarterback, no tight end, now no other wide receiver. This is like attrition. Who wins tonight, Russell Copeland? Who can hang in there?
Hey, Dave, you know, starting with the Niners, I think Kyle Shanahan has done a tremendous job just to have this football team at 4-4. You know, there was a point in time they had 16 players on IR, and coming into the game tonight, your starting quarterback, he's not playing. You know, you got 2 running backs. Tevin Coleman will not be playing. Your wide receiver, Deebo Samuel's out. You know, it's just injuries after injuries, and they've just been decimated. And I think for the Packers, you know, a team that started off great, and I think they started to slide a couple of weeks ago when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers dominated that team. And then now last week they lost the division game, you know, to the Vikings. But I think with the Niners being decimated and you don't have your tight end, you don't have a lot of weapons, I think this is a game that the Packers can get back on the winning side because they're 3-2 their last 5. But give me the Packers, even though they're playing on the road, but the Niners are just simply too decimated.
You know, it is interesting as I look at the way this thing worked out for Vegas. Actually, when this line opened up and you thought you were going to have Jimmy G and Kittles, the Packers were actually 3-point underdogs. San Francisco was favored, and now it's a 5.5-point difference. So there's an 8.5-point swing in this game, and that goes straight to quarterbacks, right? I mean, let's face it. It's just the same thing in high school and in college and in the NFL. You got to have a quarterback.
You definitely have to have a quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league, and like I said, with the Niners, they've went through all 3 of their quarterbacks at some point in time in this season, and now you got Nick Mullins, you got C.J. Beathard that's going to start. When you look at that and you look at going against, you know, Aaron Rodgers, who's definitely going to be a future Hall of Famer, I think that's why the point spread goes to the Packers.
Russell, big news out of Tampa this week, as we know, our last few weeks, as we know, Antonio Brown will play this Sunday against New Orleans. He's only played one game in the last 18 months. How productive do you think he's going to be?
I think when you look at Antonio Brown, he keeps himself in outstanding shape, and he's been fairly healthy in his career, but still, he hasn't played, as you mentioned, in 18 months. But I think this is a type of offense that he can come in, that he can play. Tom Brady loved what he saw when he was playing with New England, and he doesn't have to come in like he was with Pittsburgh and be the guy. You have Mike Evans on the other side, so he'll come in and play the third receiver and probably come in and play some fourth receiver, but he can take a lot of pressure off of Mike Evans. I think you'll see him catch some footballs. I think Tom Brady will want to get him involved, but I don't expect him to have a 10 for 170. I see him moving the chains, probably 4 or 5 catches, probably around 70, 80 yards just to get his feet wet. But I think that's a huge acquisition there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He seemed to be a pretty humbled guy. He's got this really close relationship somehow, some way with Tom Brady. He's even living with him, which seems – can't believe Giselle's allowing that to happen, but she is at the mansion in Tampa. Do you worry about a guy who's sort of been a malcontent at a couple of different places now? Do you worry about him spoiling that locker room, or is Brady – too tough for that to occur? And it does. I'm almost sold that AB has changed, that maybe he's learned.
Well, Dave, history tells us that he can go off on the deep end. But I think the most important thing is that you have Tom Brady, someone that he respects, and also he hasn't gotten a check from the National Football League in 18 months, and he's the only guy that I know that can blow $33 million and not even spend a dime of the money. So I think he's had an opportunity to get humbled. I think he understands that the NFL does not need him. I think he's been working out, and we haven't heard anything from Antonio Brown the last 5 or 6 months. So that's a key that hopefully he has changed. But I think staying with Tom Brady, for me, it's not just the football things. Hopefully he's had some things that he's had to deal with, and being around a great atmosphere, seeing a different family, maybe it can help him out with some things that we didn't know about. But I do like the acquisition, and they're preparing themselves for this second half of the season. It should be a very interesting game against the Saints.
Well, I think it'll be a great game, and let's talk about the other side. There's been criticism either of Sean Payton or Drew Brees, because everything in the Bear game I watched the other night, it was true. Even though he did bring them down the field and engineered a couple of a great drive to end the half and a great drive in overtime to win the game, he's a guy who's dinking and dunking. We're talking 15 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards. There's no deep throws with Brees. Can they beat Tampa that way in Tampa?
I think a big key is the help of Michael Thomas. When you look at it, David, you talked about the Chicago Bears. They have a pretty good defense, but when you do not have Michael Thomas, you do not have Emmanuel Sanders, you have two of the weapons that you want to be able to go down the field. If we can get both of those guys back this weekend, I think you'll see some of those throws, and now you got Cooks. They can beat Tampa, but I think right now the continuity for the Saints were looking good early in the season. Now they're looking like Tampa was looking at the beginning of the season with their first match. I like Tampa Bay simply because they're getting their guys healthy, and Drew Brees has not been able to get his guys healthy. I think it'll be a good game. It's a division game. But I'm going to take Tampa at home, and they split from the first game.
Russell, you just led me straight into my next question. Staying in the NFC South, who do you think is more important to their team returning this week, at least to practice? Not 100% sure if they'll play this week. Michael Thomas with the Saints or Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers?
Well, Christian McCaffrey, the things that he can do has been extraordinary. But I think when you look at what Michael Thomas has been able to do when he's catching 145 passes, and you look at how stagnant that offense has been, I think it's more important for the Saints, because the Saints are a team that I thought could go to the Super Bowl, that I thought probably could win this division. So he is very important for them, especially when you look at what Drew Brees is able to do with the football. And this team is in a playoff contention. I don't really think the Panthers are going to be in playoff contention. They're playing good. They're playing competitive. But I think Michael Thomas coming back is big for the Saints.
There's a couple of early games on Sunday. I want to start with Seattle traveling to Buffalo. Now, you played in Buffalo. You've seen teams have to go cross-country to go play in the cold weather in Buffalo. Can Russell Wilson and that crew make that trip? I've heard say that when you go 3 time zones, that's worth at least like a point per time zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true or not. You would know better. And now they got to play instead of playing inside, or in decent weather. In
I think it's
Seattle.
going to be actually decent weather
In Buffalo?
In Buffalo, yeah. It's rising temperatures across the country. At least that's what Al Roker said this morning.
Well, Al doesn't lie. But is there an advantage like the travel when you got to go from Seattle to Buffalo?
Definitely. I mean, you have jet lag. It's always different when the teams are traveling so far. The advantage goes to the home team, and we're talking about the weather. Even though it may be good weather around 45, 50 degrees, you always have to deal with that wind, and I think that could be a problem. But when I look at Seattle, they're 4-1. They lost a tough one a couple of weeks ago against Arizona. Buffalo has kind of been sliding. Now they're back in the winning with 2 wins. I'm going to go with Buffalo at home. I think them playing at home, their defense, they've got 2 wins on their back. I think it'll be tough for Seattle. It's hard for me to pick against Russell Wilson. I think he's the MVP thus far this year. But give me the Bills at home and give them 3 straight wins.
It'll be in the 60s in Buffalo, maybe upper 50s at kickoff. High is 64 on Sunday, and that is an early game.
Yeah, it is. Another game that I think is pretty intriguing this weekend, matchup of 2 young quarterbacks with Tua Tagovailoa and Murray for Arizona. Does Tua move to 2-0 in his young career?
When you look at Tua Tagovailoa, yes, he did get the win, but when you look at it, he did not throw for a whole lot of yards. When you look at 4 turnovers last week, I think that was the difference by the Rams. You had a punt return for a touchdown, and you also had a fumble that was picked up for a touchdown. So I do not think he gets his second win as a starting quarterback. It's good to see him back on the field. But what Murray has been able to do this year in his second year has been tremendous. He's running the football. He's throwing the football. He has a big-time weapon in Hopkins. I like Arizona. And Arizona is a surprise team for me, guys. When you look at their record, I think they're, 5-2? So them being 5-2, Dave, I talked about at the beginning of the year, I thought they would be competitive. I thought they would be a thorn in some people's eyes, but I didn't know that they would be right at 5-2 at the halfway mark, and it's simply because of their quarterback play on offense. If he doesn't turn the football in, they win. But their defense is outstanding. They go out and they get after people. They've got probably one of the best safeties in all of football when you're talking about Buddha. I like Arizona.
What did you think of the debut of Tua? He gets the W, but you're talking 92 yards that he passed for. He was fortunate. He got special teams plays, defensive plays. Did you think, and obviously they're staying with him, but, we talk about Fitzpatrick and all that he had delivered, and it's a cruel game. But that, to me, was not the most auspicious debut, even though the Dolphins won the game.
Well, Dave, I was not in favor of that move simply because they were 3-3. I don't think this team is going to the playoffs, but I look at Tua Tagovailoa as your future, and I understand why he had to play because as far as one player, this is the most exciting and anticipated play since Dan Marino in 1983. You haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback since 1995. But I saw some good things. I saw some rust, but I saw him make some throws that shows why he was a first-round pick. But I just would have let him sit out this year. Let Fitzpatrick keep the seat warm. Let him get an offseason under his belt. Let him get some OTAs, some practice time, then get some preseason games. I would have waited with that. They have him playing. So we'll see how it looks. But he made some great throws, and the other times he was undecisive.
Russell, obviously only one undefeated team left in the National Football League. I think personally they got really lucky, and Lamar just happened to have the worst game of his career thus far. But Steelers undefeated, are they the best team in the NFL in your opinion?
They definitely are the best team, and I don't believe in luck. When you look at it, you play offensively, you play defensively. Yes, Lamar Jackson did not have a great game, but you have a defense on the other side, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have one of the best defense it is. I watched that football game. It was 17-7. The pressure that they put on him, he had a throw. Now it's 17-14. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers had momentum. I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers are able to do offensively. Big Ben is back. He's healthy. He's spreading the football around. They can run the football with a couple of backs, but their defense creates turnovers for their offense. I love the Steelers, and they're playing against the Cowboys. And I tell you what, man,
that's murder. That's
easy.
That's not fair.
That is really tough. You like the Steelers over the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, it's early. It's too early to tell. But I tell you what I like about Kansas City is getting themselves not just a run for the playoffs. They're getting ready for the Super Bowl when you add on Le'Veon Bell. You look at their weapons. Their weapons are extraordinary. But a team that has a defense that can match up with the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what it's going to be able to take, and also an offense that can score. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, would be a great matchup. We'll have to see how everything goes, this second half of the season and everybody be healthy and see how Kansas City, fits Le'Veon Bell in. But I like the Steelers' defense to be able to match up against Kansas City.
Last game, and that's Ravens at Colts. That's a game that you can hear on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1. That's in Indy. You mentioned how good Lamar Jackson has played. Now he's got another good defense, because that is one thing the Colts can do. I watched them up close and personal a couple of times. They are physical. They are tough. How do you view that game?
Man, the Colts are 5-2, Dave, and they've won 2 in a row. But the last 5, they're 4-1. And as you mentioned, they have an outstanding defense. And I think for Lamar, he has to be able to beat a good football team. When you look at it, he lost to the Steelers earlier this year. He lost to Kansas City. Can he be able to get this football team off? Can he throw the football down the field? I like what the Colts are doing, but I think Lamar Jackson get it together. You got wide receivers, Hollywood Brown. They want the football. I think they spread the football around. I think he hears all the chatter. I think he goes on the road, and I think he stretches that defense out with some of his runs and then go over the top and hit Hollywood. Give me the Ravens. I think they get back into the win column.
Oh, you just made Drew
Thank you,
Barrett
Russell.
so happy. Last thing, and then we got to go. The NFL announced new playoff wrinkles today. 16 teams, 8 teams from each conference. They'll be seeded by winning percentage, so that means the team in the NFC East that wins that division will be the 8th seed, most likely, will not be the 4th seed, will not get any kind of home field advantage. And now the second wrinkle is no bye. So teams like Pittsburgh that usually get a week's rest before they play their first playoff game, they're not going to get those. You like them or don't like these new things?
Well, I do like it. I think it's very competitive. I think there's only going to be one team with a bye. Is that correct? Instead of having 2 teams with a bye, I think it's just the one with the overall best.
No. There's no byes for anybody. It's 8 teams from each conference.
Changed it already again.
What I tell you what, that's competitive, right? You talk about being competitive. You talk about who's going to be healthy coming in. I like that, especially the way it's been COVID this year. And I think it's just going to come down. That's why I love football. Whoever's the best team on Sunday, it's not like baseball, it's not like basketball, you go home. So whoever's going to be healthy going into the playoffs, that's going to be a huge factor. So I do like it. I like the competitive nature of it.
Russell, always a pleasure chatting with you. I hope we are together in Annapolis next week. COVID going away at Navy. That's all I can hope for.
Hopefully, Dave, man, enjoy working with you. Looking forward to next week.
You got it. Thank you, Russell.
Thanks, Russell.
That is the great Russell Copeland, former Tiger, former Bill and Eagle and Green Bay Packer. He spent a bunch of good time in the National Football League, and I'm going to recommend to you to go watch, if you're not listening tonight, the Packers and the 49ers, right here on Sports 56, go to the commissary and watch it outside. What a perfect night. If you're like I am, I really try to eat outside at restaurants. It's the only way my wife will let me go eat at a restaurant. And the commissary is perfect in Collierville because they have a big patio with televisions. And if you want ribs, or if you want nachos, or if you want a cheese and sausage plate, or if you want tamales, you want shoulder, you want ribs, you want the lemon icebox pie, oh my goodness, what a place to get it. You still go to Germantown, you can still get curbside at Germantown, and of course in Collierville, if you're in a hurry to get home and to watch it there, you've got the drive-through. I also have to remind you about the bird, the turkey. The turkey that is famous, that is so good. It is made in this butter wine sauce that Walker Taylor concocted years ago, and people go crazy for this turkey. They truly do. And you're going to get all the fixings. You're going to get the cornbread dressing. You're going to get everything you could possibly want to be a hero in your house for this Thanksgiving. I recommend you hide all the packaging, say that you made it, and everybody loves you, but it's really the commissary, and you do nothing, but you have to order now. Go to the website at Germantown or Collierville, or you can call and order your bird today. Your family will thank you later. We take a quick timeout. We'll put a wrap on this second hour in just a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56.
Memphis Tiger fans, catch the Blue and Gray Show with John Stacy and Drew Barrett, Sunday nights from 5 till 7, right here on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Golfers, are you looking to play like a pro without traveling the world? Just come to Golf and Games Family Park, 5484 Summer Avenue. Golf and Games has the Top Tracer range system. Top Tracer gathers all your golfing data, distance, carry, ball speed, and more. Or choose a virtual course like Pebble Beach, St. Andrews, and Spyglass. Bring your friends and family to transform and enhance the range experience for golfers and non-golfers alike. Plus, it's fun. Top Tracer range at Golf and Games, 5484 Summer Avenue. Play like a pro.
You rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico Easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Again, that's geico.com.
Corky's is the answer for your holiday feast. Turkey, hams, and all the fixins. Oh, by the way, try our new Southern Layer cakes. Order at corkysbbq.com and save $5.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Been a busy day here. Not a lot of great news, to be totally honest with you. With plenty of COVID. No new presidential news in terms of the election yet. And maybe we'll get some word on Nevada or from Pennsylvania or from Georgia.
By the way, it's pronounced Nevada. I'm just saying. I have family from Nevada, so like it's.
So you're the expert on that pronunciation?
Yes, my grandfather is from there, so I still have relatives in Nevada. So they say Nevada, and it's a pretty big pet peeve with a lot of them.
Ah, well, I have a relative there that calls it the other way.
Huh?
So,
were they born there?
I don't.
See,
how many Nevadans? So it wouldn't be called Nevadans. They call them Nevadans. How many do you think were born in Nevada?
I know of at least six. My 6 relatives I still have there, I think.
All native?
All native, yeah.
There you go. Back to the news of the day. And, again, nothing final yet, and hopefully tomorrow. Maybe by this time tomorrow we'll have the news on who will be living in the White House for the next 4 years.
Somebody's getting rent-free.
Yeah. The big news today was the cancellation of Navy Tulsa along with Army, Air Force, along with Washington and Cal. So the Pac-12 can't even get a full slate in on the very first week that they're trying to play these games. And also the news, and this was early in the morning, that Ohio State has pulled out of the basketball tournament in Sioux Falls, North Dakota. They stated that the biggest reason was because if they left for the tournament, when they returned, they would have to quarantine for 14 days. That didn't make sense to us until we got the clarification in the very first hour from Sporting News college football analyst Bill Bender, who does a wonderful job, who says the state of Ohio, and this is really interesting, the state of Ohio has a list of states that if you are over 15% positive in your cases when you test, that they don't want you to go there. And the way they let you know that is they say upon your return from that particular state, of which South Dakota is one, and there were several in
South Dakota is actually
list.
the highest percentage rate
15?
according to them. They're at 51% according to Ohio's map.
51% of the cases in South Dakota have resulted in positivity?
Yeah, the next closest would be Iowa at 39.
Man, 51%. That is amazing. I had no idea that the spike in South Dakota was that high. So that is scary enough, and they made the decision, we're not going to quarantine, we're not going to go. Obviously, the state of Tennessee does not have that qualification. The other aspect to that is, how do they enforce that particular law? And I guess you could tell anybody who's coming in an airplane, well, you know where you've come from, unless what if you went from L.A.? You're not going to go from Los Angeles to a town in South Dakota. But what if you go from South Dakota to L.A. to Memphis? How do they know?
I guess it's just
or
all on
Cincinnati.
I guess it's just all in the honor system. I guess, and they're kind of hoping that everybody is taking this serious.
If you drove, there would be really no way to know.
And if you're going to Ohio, you'd have to probably pass through Iowa, who's also on the list.
But I'll tell you this: if you're Ohio State and you're on a charter airplane, they know. And so they said no. So now it looks like St. Mary's is the team that will replace Ohio State. So that is the team that Memphis will face. I have not started to do my homework on Ohio State. I was looking forward to watching them play. I know their point guard opted out, but now it's the Gales, and it is, who knows? Who knows if more teams don't opt out or if that thing stays at 51% if people go, wait a second, are we going to take our team into 4 or 5 days in South Dakota where the positivity rate is 51%?
And you definitely aren't going to go if your state adopts what Ohio's doing, because that's the reason why you backed out of Atlantis, was because you couldn't wait 14 days to quarantine.
Yeah,
right? So now quarantine thing is.
But the only state we know that is doing that I know of is
Ohio.
Tennessee is not, so Memphis wouldn't have to worry about that qualification.
Still 3 weeks.
The
So,
thing with the Bahamas
anything could happen.
The Bahamas wouldn't let you in.
That's
period.
true.
This portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and the tune-up. The tune-up for $69 that right now includes a heating system safety check, no extra charge. That means they will check in your carbon monoxide and let you sleep with peace at night, knowing nothing is going to go wrong with your system. And when they come in and they do this 16-point tune-up inside your house, replace your filter, you become more efficient for sure. So you save money on your MLGW bill that way. Then they go outside, they get all the leaves and the dirt and the grime out of that outside unit, which right now is filled with leaves because, well, it's fall. They do that for you. Then they're coming back inside and they're doing that safety check and they're checking your carbon monoxide. They do this for $69. What a deal. Call 384-3511, 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. That's 2 hours in the books. When we come back, we'll talk more college football, maybe some college hoops. It's Talkin' Tiger time with our own Greg Gaston. He comes your way right after this timeout.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together. So the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Hi, I'm Tito Beveridge, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, I started the first micro distillery in the state of Texas with my dog, Dog Joe, at my side. We're still working with dogs out at the distillery after all these years. Learn more about how dogs are a part of life here at Tito's Handmade Vodka at vodkafordogpeople.com. Tito's Handmade Vodka is made from corn and naturally gluten-free. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Spend the holidays at home this year with a little help from Family Leisure. Family Leisure has so many spas in stock and hundreds more on order. Now's your time to really save big. Huge savings on pool tables, game tables, arcades, massage chairs, and a whole lot more. Buy a pool now and save the 2021 price increase. Plus, you'll get early installation scheduling. The Holidays at Home sale happening now at Family Leisure, Whidden Road at I-40, where family and fun come together for the holidays.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join us every Saturday morning on Sports 56 WHBQ from 8 to 10 a.m. and 96.1 FM and the new FM 98.5. We'll be covering the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, college football, college basketball, college baseball. We'll look into recruiting. We'll have guests from around the country with the latest news, the most knowledgeable people out there, the coaches, the players, the people who play the games. Don't forget to join us on the sidelines. Sports 56, 96.1, and the new FM 98.5.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
So you're watching the game, you see another ad for FanDuel Sportsbook, and you think to yourself, is that legal here in Tennessee? You bet it is. FanDuel Sportsbook, now legal in Tennessee. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is easy to use. They've got some of the best odds and markets you'll find anywhere, and make it easy to place your bets. Once you win, they pay out cash fast, getting you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. And best of all, you can place your first bet on FanDuel Sportsbook risk-free and get up to $1,000 back if you don't win. Seriously, there's no strings attached. Just place any bet you want. If you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you'll get your entire bet up to $1,000 back in bonus site credit so you can take another shot at the end zone on the house. Tonight in the NFL, Packers, big road favorites against San Francisco. 2 college football games from the Mountain West, and this weekend, the best college football weekend of the year so far, and of course Sunday in the NFL. To claim your risk-free bet, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and be sure to sign up with promo code CASH so they know I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CASH. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Site credit is non-withdrawable, expires 7 days after receipt. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. For problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789. Final hour brought to you every day by the good people down on Goodman Road at DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Go online and check out the many happy and pleased referrals and look at all the beautiful cars at DeSotoAutoSales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. All the cars at DeSoto Auto Sales, test driven, checked out bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales, where you're treated like family. Kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, down-home environment at DeSoto Auto Sales, and they care about your time and want you to have the ultimate car experience.
You walk in within 45 minutes, test drive your car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're out of there in less than an hour. 45 minutes to be exact, because they know we're living in a world today that time matters. It's that simple at DeSoto Auto Sales on Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
So we begin our number 3 in a crazy, crazy day where COVID is still here. We don't have a new president, but we have COVID at all fronts, football and basketball, ramifications of it all, and it could have a major ramification with our own Tigers next week, who are scheduled to head to Annapolis to play the Midshipmen, who have now canceled their game with Tulsa. We are going to talk about that with our own Greg Gaston. Talking Tigers with Greg from the Tigers sidelines, brought to you by Presto Shutters, Bartlett Small Engines, the law offices of Stephen Leffler, Westies downtown in the historic Pinch District, Christ Community Church, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, and Southland Casino. Southland Casino is ready to welcome you back with craps, roulette, slots, and blackjack. They're all rolling again. Sportsbook betting has reopened. The most spacious casino floor in the Mid-South is ready to welcome you back with blackjack, roulette, craps, and all your favorite slots. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and make that short drive to Southland. They are ready for you. Greg Gaston, are you ready for all this crazy uncertainty that we are facing today with Army and Air Force and Washington and Cal and all these cancellations and the dropping out of Ohio State in the basketball tournament in Sioux Falls, South Dakota? It's a crazy, crazy day.
You can't blink your eye. You can't stay off social media for more than 20 minutes because you miss a story, and then you got to get it later on from one outlet or another, and hopefully people are listening to you and they're getting all the latest with the college football postponements and cancellations. And I use that word cancellation because some of these games will not be made up. But this is something that I got to be honest with you, Wallo. Back in, I would say May, I'm thinking to myself, we're going to be fine. When fall comes around, we're going to be fine. Everybody's going to be playing sports. COVID-19 will dissipate. I had the optimism that it would go away. And now, the last 2 weeks, it's getting worse. We got the second wave, third wave, whatever the heck you want to call it. But it's scary. It's scary because it isn't going away until they find a vaccine, until we can medically clear a vaccine to be used on people. It's not going away. So we're trying to muddle through with sports, and the Tigers are going to play Saturday. Keep your fingers crossed. Nothing bad from Memphis or nothing bad from South Florida. But boy, oh boy, every passing hour there seems to be a new story.
There is. I felt when Anthony Fauci and Dr. I'm having a mind meltdown here.
Dr. Fauci?
No, Dr. Fauci's female counterpart, Dr. Birx.
Oh,
Dr. Birx. Come on, Drew, you're supposed
I'm
to help
sorry.
me.
I couldn't think of it either. I didn't want to take a guess and me sound bad on the radio. I'd rather you just.
Oh, there you go. Just let me burn.
Yeah.
Throwing it on you.
I was going to let you die on that hill. I wasn't joining you.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Birx, they were saying, the scientists were saying we're going to get another wave in the second, in the fall and the winter, and it's obvious they knew. They were prophetic. They were right about this. When you look today and you see in the United States today, 50,000 new cases. In the world today, 431,000 new cases. We are here, and we're not going to see it go away until, as you just said, there is a vaccine or there is a treatment or there is a combination of the two. We had Mayor Strickland on last night saying, he was hopeful we could still have in the city of Memphis the NCAA regional tournament, but that was all going to depend on whether or not there was going to be a vaccine. And they've already got all the logistic plans set as to how they would distribute the vaccine if there is a vaccine. So it all comes down to that. And with 179 being worked on and 4 or 5 of them in final trials, you do feel like we're going to have something here by the end of the year. But we don't. And until then, we just muddle through. And I think you're right on the money, Greg, with postponements or cancellations. I don't see how the Navy-Tulsa game gets made up unless they can play the Memphis game next week, and they're still trying to get all these games in. They move the Army-Navy game to the date that Navy would be eligible to play in a conference championship game, but they're just about mathematically out of that. So they could play the Army-Navy game on the 19th. The conference could have the championship game on the 19th, and you could play a makeup game, and you may need this flexibility on the 12th. I think the SEC is playing their championship game on the 19th. So there is some flexibility, but if you lose another one, if Memphis and Navy is not able to go next week because, and it just depends on the number of cases and when they were found and honestly what positions they may be, if that game is lost, there's no way to make up all these games. Memphis doesn't have anything built in at this moment. The game they're playing, unless they took Stephen F. Austin off the books and put in another conference game to try to make that more equitable, that might work, but there's not a whole lot of leeway here.
It's a sport that you can only play once a week. This isn't baseball making up games. This isn't the NBA making up games or college basketball, for that matter, where you play multiple games in a week. You play one game a week, and that's it. And the American Conference, along with the SEC, they built in that cushion, and that cushion now is gone. But what's going on with the Big Ten? What is going on now with the Pac-12? The Washington-Cal game? They're not going to be able to make that up because they have no cushion.
Right.
So you give Mike Oresco and you give Mike Sly credit for being patient, starting cautiously optimistic, knowing that there was going to be pitfalls, and they have seen them on a weekly basis. But now we're getting to that point where, yes, it's going to be extremely hard to make up games. I think you're absolutely right about Navy. If they juggle things around, maybe they can get that game in. And that's a critical game because Tulsa's right there in the mix, and the Tigers aren't out of it, but they need a Navy to step up and beat a Tulsa because they don't play Tulsa. Memphis plays Navy. Memphis plays Houston, so they can control their own destiny as far as those teams are concerned. But you got SMU where you're going to need help, and Tulsa. And if Tulsa's playing less games, that doesn't give you a great opportunity. So that is one you hope that they can make up. The other thing, Wolo, and I don't know about you, and I know this is probably, I would think, for a lot of sports fans out there, because we could see by the numbers, the ratings for most sports are down. There are certain games, especially in the NFL, where the numbers are still pretty good. But for the most part, sports is down. And I just think that even though it's extremely important to the players, to the coaching staff, to the fans, to us as broadcasters and as members of the media, I don't know how important it is to just regular Joe Q public out there that a championship is held, that a champion is crowned. Even though the Lakers won and the Dodgers won, I still think it's asterisk next to them in the record books because of the rule changes and the amount of games that were played. It doesn't take away from what they did, and it won't take away from a national champion in college football or a Super Bowl champion in the NFL. But it just doesn't have the same feel because of all the upheaval.
Well, the one reason why you want to play a championship game is television revenue. The second reason why, if you're the American, really, if you're any of the group of five, you want to play a championship game because you have to determine a champion to fill that New Year's Day slot, which, by the way, brings in a lot of money. So it's financial, probably number one, but those championships and deciding which one is your champion is critical financially to the conference. So you got to play those games. You could determine your champion, and let's face it, right now, I mean, if you had to pick a champion and you couldn't play it out, you're going to go with Cincinnati because they're the highest-ranked team. And at this point, depending on what happens with the Pac-12 and Clemson and Notre Dame, for instance, and how they split or they don't split, you could see Cincinnati getting into the college football playoff.
Well, this is a year where they could make the argument if they run the table, and depending on what else happens with the Pac-12, this is certainly the year. Because the way the system is set up, as you know, it does not set up for a group of five conference representatives to be in the conversation. Not only would Cincinnati be in the conversation, they will get a fair look if things fall their way. But I want to make sure you don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that you don't play these games or they're not extremely important from financial reasons and other reasons. I'm just saying from Joe Q public out there, the regular fan out there, not the diehard, the regular fan out there, it's like, okay, it's not the same. It just doesn't have that same feel. Your team may not play one week, they may play the next week, they may be missing a star quarterback. It's just on and on and on with these problems.
No, I think I'm going to take that a step further. I'm going to say the coaches feel the same way, or at least with the couple that I have talked to.
Really?
I will tell you that Ryan Silverfield said to me, this year is so tough and so different that he should be having a lot of fun. This was last week before he got his rear side kicked by Cincinnati. But the point he was trying to make was he is spending so much time worrying about COVID tests and protocols and medical things that he's not able to fully concentrate on things that normally he would, or even enjoy. I mean, you can't enjoy a win because now you're worried your team's going to go out and see a parent and say there's a party bus.
Be done.
So it is that way, and it doesn't feel the same because, I can't be totally specific, but there are some players on the defensive side of the football for Memphis that are not playing as well as they might have last year because to begin the year they had COVID. There were a lot of guys on this defense. I'm not trying to make excuses for them because in some cases in the secondary there's just not enough talent. But there are guys who've played better in the past that got off to a slow start, were never physically fit because you had COVID, you had no spring, and it's just, you're right, it's not a normal year. I'm not saying have an asterisk, but this is not the way we know college football.
And with all that said, Waldo, and I agree 100% with what you're saying, should all the coaches, and they may have to because of the financial implications, but should all the coaches get a pass this year?
I think for the most part they will because of the financial implications. I think it would
can't afford to pay two guys.
It would really be hard, especially when you are now hard-pressed to pay for what will eventually be extra scholarships. So you're going to have guys working in colleges, and I'm just going to say Adam Walker because he's a perfect example of the University of Memphis, and he's hugely involved in the fundraising arm, and he's the head of it now here for the University of Memphis. He's got to go to his people, and he's going to have to go, look, we're going to have to pay, because the Tiger Scholarship Fund is basically the funding arm for the scholarships that the student athletes get.
Yeah, they still have to pay the university.
And you're going to have to pay above the 85 that your limit is because you've got 4 years now of guys getting, if they decide to stay, an extra year. Extra years for everybody.
Yeah, they're doing the right thing for the student athlete, but they're also putting programs and universities and athletic departments into more dire situations financially.
No doubt.
I mean, just today, Clemson, and think about this, Clemson, I don't know how many years now, they're always in the playoffs, and they'll be in the playoffs more than likely again unless they fall twice to Notre Dame, because most people believe even if they lose this weekend and run the table and win the ACC, they're going to be in there. But Clemson, you figure financially, they're fine, hand over fist. They're printing money at Clemson. They dropped the cross country and the track and field.
Track and field, yeah.
No, we brought that up, and we did that with this caveat. I mean, if you sit there and look at the numbers, and we may be off, but Alabama, Ohio State is probably the number one revenue stream school because the Big Ten TV deal is slightly better than the SEC's, and they've got slightly more people that they can put into the horseshoe than Alabama can. Alabama would be second because they get 92,000 every week, and they have the second best TV deal.
Texas is up there.
But Texas is up there because it's a huge stadium, but the Big 12 TV money is not the same as the SEC or the Big 10. The ACC would be up there, or Clemson would be up there.
Well, Texas probably gets more from the Longhorn Network.
That's what I'm thinking, right? They still get that.
I don't think they do. There is no longer a Texas Longhorn Network. It became the Big 12 network. Everybody got pooled in because the Texas network, the Longhorn Network, was a big failure.
Okay.
But in what you're the point is, we're talking about the top seven without any question because of all the playoff money they keep getting every year. That the top 7 football revenue producing team, and it could be as high as 3. They had to eliminate programs. This pandemic is everywhere.
I don't know if Dabo has taken a cut yet, if the coaches have taken a cut across the board at Clemson. But Dabo's making what? $7-8 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, $6-7-8 million, and they're cutting the cross country and the track and field programs. So I mean, you got to make sure that if you're going to do something like that, you have exhausted all your financial possibilities. And I would imagine that if they haven't already dipped into his bank account, I don't know what they're waiting for. Because you try to prevent.
I would bet
Dabo made $9.3 million last year.
$9.3 million. Come on.
If he took $2 million cut, it might have saved that program because I can't believe that program cost more than $2 million. No, I get it.
And knock on wood, Lobo,
you know what
not happening at Memphis.
You know what I'm going to say to you? I'm going to say that there are several universities with with budgets that they can't really pay for so many of these non-revenue producing sports that they've been waiting. I'll give you a good example, and I'm guessing when I say this, but as soon as all this stuff hit, one of the first schools to eliminate a program was men's soccer at the University of Cincinnati.
Right.
I have to tell you that I've got to believe that they'd been planning that for a little bit. And the door was open for them to do this. That is probably the same thing with Clemson. They've got too many sports, and this was the door opening for them to go. There are so many economic impacts from the pandemic, and we saw one today, which is sad as could be. It's in our business, and that hits home because there's always a trickle-down effect. Or usually there is. I'm not saying there will be, but ESPN laid off 300 people today, including the great college football historian Ivan Meisel. 300 people laid off from that network in Bristol, Connecticut. That's significant, even though they have quite a few employees, more than you might think. I think it's like 6,000, but 300. And some people have been there for over 20 years that got let go.
I mean, Ivan tweeted out that he'd been there 18. He started 18 years ago today.
And
he's one of the best at what he does.
Yeah.
He's very talented. But here's the thing. As you said, they have a ton of employees, and you hate to see anybody lose their job. One person, let alone 300. The other thing is, remember, they made cuts in the past 3-4 years as well. And they've also announced that they're not going to fill those spots. So basically, the 200 spots that were already taken away, they're not being filled. Now they're going to get rid of 300. That's 500 people that have lost their jobs here in the last few years at ESPN. That is significant.
Well, and that really goes directly to what's happening with Disney. And people streaming directly now instead of going through cable systems.
Well, I mean, I'm paying Disney $6 a month. I mean, am I not doing it right? I mean, also for my ESPN subscription, I'm paying another $6-7. So I'm paying Disney.
In the penthouse. You got to take care of the mouse. He lives
That's
up
true.
In the penthouse. He's got all top line stuff.
I'm paying Disney like $12 a month.
Drew, I think you need to get a couple more TVs and pay him some more. It's obviously not enough. All right, let's talk about this football game. I want you to memorize every receiver and ball carrier that South Florida has.
Oh, good luck.
The name game, right?
I have never seen as many. If you look at the numbers, they have 16 guys who've made a catch, 15 guys who've run the football, 4 quarterbacks who have played. And actually, if you talk about throwing the football, like 3 other guys, they've got like 7 guys who've thrown passes. I've never seen this kind of a deal.
Well, Jeff Scott, in his first year, the former longtime offensive coordinator at Clemson, is experimenting. He's basically using his first year to see who's in, who's out, what works, what doesn't work. Obviously, they haven't won a conference game. They did play fairly well against Temple, could have won that game.
Yep.
And Ryan Silverfield, who joined me on the Middays program today, said, hey, they played Cincinnati better than we played Cincinnati. They're
true.
Desperate for a win, right? They're going to come in and they're going to try to pull off an upset. Look, I think the Tigers, though, have always shown the resiliency under this last couple of head coaches, starting with Fuente, then Norvell, and now with Silverfield. When they lose a game, they always seem to bounce back. And maybe if they had beaten Cincinnati, you come in a little bit high on your horse and you take them a little bit lightly because they're 1-5 and 0-5 in the conference. But not now, not after the embarrassment that happened last weekend. The Tigers, I would suspect, will be ready to go on Saturday.
Yeah, Greg, and you mentioned that y'all had Ryan Silverfield on y'all's midday program today. I got into the car a little bit late, like right as he was wrapping up about T.J. Carter. What did Coach Silverfield have to say about T.J.'s availability this weekend?
Yeah, he was non-committal for him playing, but he did say he was taking reps in practice, which the last few weeks he wasn't taking reps. He did say he expects him to be in uniform. It doesn't mean he will play. He's been on the sideline in civilian clothes. So to have him even in uniform, even if he doesn't play, I think is uplifting for his teammates.
I would think that's right. I think you have to be cautious with this guy, too, because honestly, do you want to put a T.J. Carter out there who played like he did against SMU? I don't.
Right.
I'd rather rest
Ryan
him. I'd rather rest him until I know we have the T.J. Carter that we saw his freshman year.
And plus, on the flip side, T.J. Carter doesn't want to go out there if he's less than 100%. He's still auditioning for the NFL. I mean, his freshman year, we thought this guy is the definite Sunday player. And now you think, well, maybe, but maybe not. The injuries have certainly curtailed it a bit, but I think he's a very, very talented player. He's the best of the best that the Tigers have to offer, but less than 100% he's not. So you're absolutely right. And Ryan Silverfield, by no stretch of the imagination, is throwing that guy out there to the wolves if he's less than 100%.
Well, listen, Memphis is a huge favorite in this game. We're going to know right away if the folks in Vegas are on the money because, in my mind, if the Tigers can run the football, there is no way that this South Florida team is going to be able to come and do their thing. Their best thrower is a guy who has not played well. He's gotten replaced in the starting lineup by a guy who runs the football. And if you're Memphis and you're Mike McIntyre, you want to see a running quarterback. You don't want to see a throwing quarterback.
No question about that from the defensive side. And then from the offensive side, it was embarrassing what the Tigers did with the running game at Cincinnati. You know it. You were there. So I would imagine this offensive line, these running backs, Kevin John's play calling, they're going to want to establish the run right away and hopefully be able to open up holes, get these guys going, Clark and Watkins and company, and then it opens things up more for Brady in the passing game. But they really have to get the run going because they were physical all season long against the likes of Temple and UCF, and then all of a sudden that physicality went away as Cincinnati took advantage of that on last Saturday in Cincinnati. They need to get that physicality back that we saw for most of the season.
Yeah, that is the goal. And the good news is the defensive front for the Bulls is not the same as the Bearcats. As always, my friend, I look forward to working with you on Saturday at the Liberty Bowl. I think we got that game for sure. I don't know about anything else after that.
We'll talk to you on Saturday. Well, looking forward to it as always. Drew, always great to catch up with you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate it. Greg Gaston talking Tigers, brought to you by Presto Shutters, Bartlett Small Engines, the law offices of Stephen Leffler, Westie's downtown in the historic Pinch District, Christ Community Church, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, and Southland Casino. This portion of the show also brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, and by Genesis of Olive Branch. Same building, same people. They've been together for about 13, 14 years. Same guys that have been running it. Chris True's over all of them, but you got a guy like Ray Melton who's in charge of the certified pre-owned program, and Auto Trader said Hyundai is the best non-luxury certified pre-owned program in America, and in this area, in the Memphis area, Homer Skelton Hyundai's has been the best for the last 13 years. They've sold more pre-owned certified cars than anybody else. Now, let's get to new cars. You know, every new Hyundai, every new Genesis, you get from Homer a lifetime limited powertrain warranty and a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package on every new vehicle. It is sensational, and the technology is so good, Hyundai tied for the most number of top safety pick vehicles in 2020, and these 2021s are every bit as good, if not better, and they've all arrived. Please go see for yourself why they've set the bar so high. The new standard for the way car business should be done is happening at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Back in just 1 minute, we will talk some baseball with our friend Tim Doolin. He comes your way next.
You have opinions?
I think they got a lot of athletic ability.
We want to hear them.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
Call us on the First Bank phone line at 360-8255 or text us on the First Bank text line at 67129.
Are you shopping for a new watch, an engagement ring, any kind of jewelry at all? What's up, Memphis? This is Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Grizzlies, encouraging you all to shop where I shop, Platinum Jewelers here in Memphis. Platinum Jewelers has a big selection of earrings, stockable rings, luxury watches, necklaces, bracelets, really whatever you need. They do custom jewelry and have 2 locations in the area. One is 545 Perkins Extended in East Memphis. The other is 9387 Poplar next to Fresh Market in Germantown. So if you need anything jewelry related, go to my spot, Platinum Jewelers.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One with a Thursday Night Football preview sponsored by Prilosec. Treat your frequent heartburn with Prilosec OTC. Coming up, 2 NFC teams needing to bounce back from losses last week when the 4-4 San Francisco 49ers host the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay's high-scoring offensive game came up short last week against the Vikings and dropped them to 5-2. Aaron Rodgers after the game.
This definitely qualifies as one of those games where you want to be a great team. You got to handle business at home. I mean, look, this is not the same type of home environment. I get it, but it's 2020 and we're in a different NFL this year.
The 49ers injury troubles continued last week with both Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle leaving with injuries in their loss to the Seahawks. Ryan Ratke and Hall of Famer Rod Woodson will have the action on Thursday Night Football.
Remember to listen to Westwood One's coverage of the NFL all season long. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Now at Lowe's, we're saying thanks to our pros in more ways than ever before during our Provember event. We have deals on the brands you trust, like DeWalt, Spyder, and Metabo HPT. We also have credit options you won't want to miss. Plus, for 5 days only, November 9th through the 13th, bring in an old bucket from one of our competitors and get a brand new 5-gallon Lowe's branded bucket free. Just one more reason why we're the new home for pros. Limit 1 bucket per customer while supplies last. U.S. only.
Napa know-how. At Napa, you can get 20% off 3 or more items with the $4.99 Napa Tool Bag. Yep, 20% off power tools, 20% off wipers, 20% off oil, and more. It's a whole bag of tricks. Well, actually, it's one trick over and over again, but it's a good one, saving you 20% on 3 or more items. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how. At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 11/30/20.
Westies, you know, the old North End Pinch District, a great Memphis tradition. Come hungry for home cooking, literally over 200 items ranging from fried green tomatoes, spinach artichoke dip, hot tamales, chili, chicken and dumplings, incredible moist and crispy chicken tenders, shrimp creole, jambalaya, gator gumbo, ribeye that includes salad and baked potato for only $23.95, smoked wet rib slabs including slaw and beans, french fries or tater tots around $24, or just a great cheeseburger and fries or tater tots for only $8.95. Come by or call for downtown delivery 543-2GO. Then top it off with Jake's original hot fudge pie. Written up as Memphis Best. Westies at 346 North Main Street. Open daily 11A to 2A. Good friends, neighborhood favorite, Westies. Westies regulars understand Westies, the North End, and we have the doors you're looking for. Check them out, westiesmemphis.com. Westies at the North End, Memphis Best.
Brian Smith, we love the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis.
Thanks, Stats. The fall months are always the best time to shop for both new and pre-owned cars. We're right in the middle of model year end change. The 2020s have got to go to make room for the new 2021 models, and we continue to trade for the best pre-owned cars in the city, all makes and models.
Service is one of y'all's hallmarks.
Our award-winning service department is adhering to all socially distanced safety precautions.
You can experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Stats off. He'll be back on Monday. Drew Barrett filling in. Nice to have you with us for sure on a very busy day with COVID news all over the place, really affecting college football and even college basketball with the news that Ohio State has bailed out of the tournament in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They were supposed to play Memphis on Wednesday, November 25th. Now it looks like, although not official yet, but I have a pretty good feeling the Tigers, if there is a tournament, will end up playing,
fingers crossed,
the St. Mary's Gales. So let's keep our fingers crossed for sure. In the meantime, we love talking baseball. We will through the winter meetings. There's lots to talk about with managerial moves and things of that nature. We talk with our guy, Tim Doolin, but I got to start with, I think it was Rob Manfred earlier this week, maybe it was late last week, who was
earlier this week,
who put out the statement, they will look at keeping the World Series at a neutral site. Can we somehow, if that is the case, maneuver a way to get Rob Manfred out of baseball? Come on, Tim Doolin. That can't be real.
That's one of the most absurd things I've ever heard in my life. So what would these teams be playing for the whole year other than to get home field advantage and to have their home crowd cheer them on? I mean, you're going to lose fans. You're going to lose fans more than anything, and I think the fans help pay the player's salary. So it's just absurd.
Yeah, it really is, Tim, and I don't know why. I still can't wrap my head around why Rob Manfred wants to kill his sport. I mean, it seems like any stupid idea that comes across his desk that he thinks that will run off baseball fans, lifers, like all of us are, he's gonna try. Why does he hate us actual baseball fans?
I don't know. I think he's, to be honest with you, I don't know him well enough, obviously, but I think, much like we've had these discussions about all the analytics and how involved these guys are in the game, and the analytics guys have never played the game. So they haven't been around it since they were 5. They don't understand it. They haven't been in clubhouses. They just all of a sudden became the smartest people. I'm afraid he's listening to those types of people, because you surely can't say, well, look, we played at a neutral site this year, and look what great success it was. First of all, you can't say it was a success. I was there. You could not get – I was going to try to get you a T-shirt, honestly, and literally there were 3 options of T-shirts for men, and they were so generic it wasn't even funny. And I walked the entire stadium, and all you could find was Texas Ranger stuff. Granted, it was short notice, whatever, but at the end of the day, I don't see what his logic is.
Well, the product in the field was fun to watch. There's no question about that. But I don't think you could deem it a success. As you just said, you couldn't get very many people in there. That was COVID. That's not Rob Manfred's fault. But the television numbers were way down. And you still had the number 2 TV market in the country involved. And, there's a lot of followers for the L.A. Dodgers still to this day on the East Coast. So this was not a huge success by any means. So I don't understand that. Also, I guess the news is that there is the consideration for the universal DH. Is that going to be a part of this from here on out? Are we going to end the National League style of play?
I think if there was one move that I would make it universal. I think it evens the playing field, although as traditionalist as we are, I kind of like the National League and the fact that you've got to manage different. But just like we talked about last week, and I've gotten a lot more information over the past week on, managers are not really making decisions anymore, which is sad. So I'm for the universal DH. I will say that.
What's your reasoning behind that?
Well, I just think it allows pitchers to be pitchers. I think it opens up some more job opportunities for players, and I think it is an exciting game to watch, having some more offense. And look, even with the DH in the World Series, you're still not going to see tons of runs being scored. I think, overall the playoffs, the play of the playoffs was outstanding. You saw great plays being made defensively, runs scored, home runs, great pitching performances. You saw all the things that we love as baseball fans. We saw that, and so I just think that it's a good idea. I'm not for putting a man on second at all in the playoffs. I'm not even worried about speeding up the game. We've talked about that so many times on the show.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to a baseball game, a major league or even a minor league game, you're carving out the bulk of the day to go to the event.
Well, you should. You're paying for it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely, you're paying for it.
And
you would be, well, no, you wouldn't. You've been in enough of these stadiums, but the prices they charge at the concession stand.
Oh my Lord!
Oh my gosh, it would knock you could go to Ruth Chris for what you're getting drinks and popcorn for
a hot dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you really could, Tim. And I agree with you on the DH. As a former PO myself, I had no need for a bat in my hand. I couldn't do anything with it and did nothing but hurt every team I ever played on. So I agree with you there. What are your thoughts about, obviously you have a new owner in Major League Baseball with Steve Cohen. Do you think that he was a good fit to buy the Mets?
I don't know enough about him. I will say this, that obviously he's a very wealthy man. He's very passionate about the Mets. I think he's going to spend some money during the offseason to make the Mets more viable, and I think they're close. I really do. So I'm all for it. I'm all for Steve Cohen and what hopefully he adds some more excitement to New York with the Mets getting more relevant in the game. It's going to be tough in the National League, the division they're in, but they've got some good young players.
I don't think we've talked to you since the White Sox hired Tony La Russa, since the Tigers got A.J. Hinch, and that may be a steal. And now the rumor is Alex Cora could be going back to manage the Boston Red Sox. Give me your take on all three of those.
Well, first of all, I think I've watched some of La Russa's interviews, and I'm very impressed with what he's saying. And they've really grilled him. Harold Reynolds grilled him on his take on all the analytics. I think we talked about it on the show last week. He was really one of the first guys, because he's a lawyer, that played around with different things. So I would say he was really more of the old school innovator of analytics. And he basically said what I would have hoped he would have said, is that analytics have been part of the game, although now they're using it. There's more computerized, there's more technology, there's all the different tendencies that hitters had that we were writing down on pieces of paper, and scouts were going and scouting the teams prior to us playing them, is now done through a computer. Well, he alluded to that all those things are relevant and important in the game, but there's still a major component in game time management of the game and how the flow of the game's going, tendencies of the players, gut feel of the manager, etc. And I think I can assure you that's how he's going to manage, or he wouldn't have taken the job.
And for those,
he's going to listen to those people, but he's going to make decisions during the course of the game based on what he wants to do.
I would hope that would be the case. And by the way, for those who think he might be too old, some say Connie Mack was the greatest manager in the history of the game. You know how old Connie Mack was when he finally retired?
75.
83.
87.
Holy cow.
87.
Well, I can tell you this. As long as your mind is sharp, Willow, a manager doesn't need to be running up and down. He's not coaching third base. As long as his mind is sharp, I can assure you he's going to surround himself with a lot of wisdom on his bench with his staff, and I'm all for it. I think A.J. Hinch was a great hire. I think Cora deserves – that's who I would hire if I were the Red Sox. It's going to be interesting to see if the Red Sox go that route, and because they've got a new general manager, and it's I understand he flew to Puerto Rico to meet with Alex. So if it's Alex, it's going to be Alex in the next 2 or 3 days.
Well, Sam Fuld, James Rosen.
I know James Rosen, and James Rosen would be a great candidate. He's been around the game a long time as a hitting instructor with the Cubs. He went over with Jeter because he had a history with Jeter to the Marlins. Has done an outstanding job there. Very articulate. Players love him. I think if he doesn't get this job, he's going to be a manager someday. He's really good.
Why do I know the name Carlos Mendoza? He's also in there.
I think you just heard Mendoza because there's a lot of former Mendozas that played in the big leagues. I don't think you know
that could be. It could very well be. By the way, Sam Fold and Cora are the two that I think that are the ones that are most likely going to end up in the dugout for the Red Sox. Crazy kind of a week. Have you heard anything about if baseball will start on time?
I have not. I mean, I've talked to Dan O'Dowd a few times, who's on MLB Now as a former executive with the Rockies. As of right now, I would say everything's on. They released the spring training dates, reporting dates, and all that. They did cancel the winter meetings, so most of the winter meetings that the things that went on in the winter meetings were a lot of upper management, general managers meeting with agents at the site.
Right.
Well,
we used to get trades out of the winter meetings.
Do what?
We'd get trades out of the winter meetings.
We get trades, and you'll have trades, but it's going to be done via Zoom. If you remember, the last couple of years, the trades have been not as active as we would hope as fans. It's been more the convention itself. The winter meetings is more, for me, has been more of a convention. A lot of trade shows, a lot of networking, things like that. And so now it's just going to be based on, where we're at with all the things we've gone through in this year with COVID. A lot of that stuff's going to be being done via Zoom.
Well, we look forward to your analysis of all that when December hits. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks,
Tim. Our
Tim.
man on baseball, that is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you in part by Ken Garland. Ken Garland, custom home builders. Ken knows it's a big decision that you are making. Well, you might be building that dream home. Maybe you're looking for land for that dream home, but you're ready. And you're trying to find the perfect thing. Well, he's got that, or maybe you've got the perfect thing. It's been in your family for a long time, but you're not exactly sure what you're going to do with it. Well, Ken will know. He and his dad have been doing this for 2 generations. We're talking about 50 years worth of building and renovating. When I talk about renovation, I say renovation with innovation. All the modern amenities that you want in a new home, you will get in your old home with your lot in your location. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Maybe you're looking for a new development. Well, there's a place called the Leylon. Ken's involved. It's a gated community that's being done by Boyle. It's on Messick Road east of Kirby all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes start there at $875,000. If you're interested in that or any of the things I've mentioned, go to kengarland.com and then make the call to Ken himself, 751-1632. That's the number, 751-1632. He's an interesting fellow to talk to. He sees little details and big picture all at once. There are not many like Ken Garland, custom home builders. Back in a minute, we will end the day with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
Listen online anywhere, anytime at sports56whbq.com.
Get holiday savings now at the Home Depot on select GE appliances, washers, and dryers in either white or diamond gray, just $5.98 each. You get a high-efficiency top-load washer and dryer, plus a 2-year limited parts and labor warranty. Order online, you'll even get free delivery. Holiday appliance shopping. Improve. Save on select GE appliances now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Continental U.S. only while supplies last. Valid through December 2nd. Free delivery on orders $396 or more.
Napa know-how. At Napa, you can get 20% off 3 or more items with the $4.99 Napa Tool Bag. Yep, 20% off power tools, 20% off wipers, 20% off oil, and more. It's a whole bag of tricks. Well, actually, it's one trick over and over again, but it's a good one, saving you 20% on 3 or more items. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 11/30/20.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions. Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. Too easy with the deal, we get insane.
This final portion of the show is brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten. Mark Spensdorf. Sheldon is the guy that makes it all happen, doesn't let the football season slow him down. People often say, you want the job done, you're going to call Sheldon. I agree with that 100%. Recently, he was about to put a home on the market that was in Germantown. He sold it the day before he could even put it on the market. He knows how to market. The following weekend, he listed 2 on Friday, one in East Memphis. Oh, it had 3 offers by Saturday night. The other was in Cordova, 4 offers by Sunday evening. Now, is the real estate market really that good? It can be. There's no seasonal slowdown during the football season if Sheldon Rosengarten is your quarterback. So if you're going to draft one, make sure you have tryouts. Just let Sheldon run his pass pattern for you. You'll see the difference. You can reach Sheldon at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Do it now. Again, you want to move your house? Call Sheldon. That's Sheldon Rosengarten at 483-0546 or go to MemphisRelocate.com. It's time for Crunch Time.
This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye.
Boop, choo.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
On 1, on 2, on 3. Hey.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Well, we've learned a whole bunch today. There is no doubt about that. We have learned that COVID is still here from all of the shutdowns of games. Navy, Tulsa, Army, Air Force, Washington, and Colorado. Louisiana Tech was also in that mix now. There have been games from many of the conferences that are just not going to go. We know that COVID is here. We know Ohio State pulled out of the Sioux Falls, South Dakota tournament because the state of Ohio has a rule that if you go to a state with high positivity from testing, and South Dakota is at 51%, you've got to quarantine for 2 weeks when you come back. And Ohio State says we're not willing to pay that price. But now we learn, too, it's not just COVID. There's injuries that can slow a football team down. Drew Brees downplayed the significance of a shoulder injury today. He remained limited in the Thursday practice. He was working off to the sides, no pads at all during the early portion of the practice that was open to the media, and was officially listed as a limited participant. It is rare for Brees to be limited in practice this late in the week, and unclear if it will affect his status for the Sunday showdown with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That would put a crimp in a game you can hear at 7 o'clock right here on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1 on Sunday.
And it opens the door for none other than famous Jameis to possibly get some playing time against his former team. That'd be interesting to watch.
It would be. You know, there's been plenty of rumors that famous Amos could end up being traded because he's in the last year of his contract. It only costs a team like $500,000. Maybe he should become the Cowboys quarterback.
Maybe he should. I learned today that the Baltimore Ravens, they've actually scored at least 20 points in 30 straight games. This is currently tied with the Denver Broncos, who did it in 2012, from 2012 through 2014. If the Ravens score 20-plus this Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, they will have the longest such streak in NFL history.
So they got to get to 20.
Just got to get to 20.
Well, that's a pretty good Colts.
I mean, you've done it 30 times in a row. You need to do it one more time.
Colts. Oh, that's hard to believe.
That's 30 points this year against Kansas City, Pittsburgh.
That's pretty impressive. That Pittsburgh is that is really impressive. I guess I could have done without all the speculation. We're going to hear it for the next 2 weeks about who's going to go where in the NBA draft. Apparently now the Detroit Pistons are really intrigued by LaMelo Ball, and they may move up in the draft. They're number 7. They're willing to deal. Their GM, Troy Weaver, says moving up is definitely an option because their target is LaMelo Ball.
If I'm LaMelo Ball right now, I'm crossing my fingers, hoping and praying that's actually what's going to happen, because I don't really want. I wouldn't want to go play for T-Wolves, and we know James Wiseman doesn't want to do that if they select him. I could have done
I still think Anthony Edwards will go there, which would be crazy for them, but that's okay. And then James Wiseman, perfect.
He's going to
Golden State Warriors.
It's going to happen for him. Well, I could have done without the news, obviously, out of Clemson having to discontinue the men's track field and cross country at the conclusion of the 2021 athletic year. We talked about it before. You hope that universities finally wake up and can start a rainy day fund so they're not screwing over their own student body and their own student athletes who have worked countless years to get where they are now, and stop building the $500 million practice facilities with swimming pools, putt-putt, bowling alleys. At LSU, you don't need a lazy river in the middle of campus.
No.
You need to make sure you can pay teachers.
And one other story we didn't get to, 3 local guys, ECS lineman Dietrich Pennington, Christian Brothers running back Dallin Hayden, and Briarcrest quarterback Michael Dallas are semifinalists for Mr. Football from the state of Tennessee. We thank Bill Bender, Jim Lighthall, Russell Copeland, Greg Gaston, and Tim Doolin. It was a very busy and fun show. I wish we had better news that we could have shared with you. Tomorrow you'll want to be around. I promise you. We got a blockbuster of a show. It'll start with Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet in Las Vegas on all the great games and his predictions in college football and the National Football League. Penny Hardaway is going to be a part of our show. Glenn Rogers Jr. will talk about those awards and the playoffs. Andy Fletcher will take us on a tale of what it was like to be a major league umpire in this pandemic year. So that'll do it for us. Same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.
Are you looking for a dependable car at a fair price and guaranteed financing approval? Then you need to make your way to Collierville Auto